What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the High Tempo Sports Podcast. This is episode 210. Today, I'm here with a returning guest who was just on like a month ago or so, maybe 3 weeks ago. Matt Griffin. What are you doing? What's going on today, Matt?
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much. Happy to be back on. Appreciate the invite once again. Hope to be on again someday.
Of course.
If this goes well. Curious to see how long this goes.
I know.
This feels like last time it went a long time.
Yeah, if you did not listen to the last time Matt was on, it was the Monday before the NBA started. We did the X Factor on every single NBA team, and that was near a 3-hour long podcast.
Yeah.
Definitely the longest podcast I've ever had. So
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's just what I bring to the table. The thing that made that podcast go so long, I think, is that we covered every team.
Exactly.
Which we plan to do again
and
today.
that's why when I was thinking of the topic last night, because I thought of this topic, and then I texted you, and then I thought about it after I texted. I was like, maybe this shouldn't be the topic because this is just going to be incredibly long again.
It will be.
It will be.
Probably. Now, the thing that saves it, though, we don't necessarily have to talk. If we just have two teams in the same spot or whatever, we probably don't have to spend a ton of
last time we did the X Factor of every team, so we picked a guy and then went in depth about that guy, and we for the most part had different guys. I feel like for a good amount of these teams, especially the lower tier teams, it's just going to be a lot of they're pretty bad.
Suck.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is possible. Also, it's still early in the season. And just hand up, it's not like I've gotten to watch a ton of every team.
Right.
Just because every team's only played 9 games. There's only so much time in the day. I've watched every team at least once, I think. But some teams I certainly have more thoughts on than others.
There's been a few teams where I like on Crunch Time I see them, or if I'm in.
I've never watched Crunch Time.
Really?
I've never even.
I've done it a few times. It's pretty cool. It's not. It's obviously not Red Zone. Red Zone is its own thing.
Red Zone is special.
The only thing I don't like about Crunch Time is it starts at if there's a big slate, 12 or 13 games or whatever, it'll start at 9:30. It won't start at 7. When the games tip off. It starts at when the 7 o'clock games are ending and the middle games are going on.
Yeah.
Which I wish it just started right at 7 or 7:30.
Right. I think I just kind of run my own Crunch Time.
Right.
I just have different tabs open of all the games.
My problem is if the Pistons are playing,
that gets one.
I will just watch them the whole time, and if I'm up in the living room, I just got one TV. Maybe I'll get my laptop out and to watch something else, but I really don't turn it at all unless it's halftime. I'll turn it for a little bit, and then I'll go right back to the Pistons and just watch the Pistons.
I'll turn it usually. I think I have. So I'll have the TV on with a game.
Right.
So last night, I never have the Pistons on the TV. They're always on the laptop because Bally doesn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
So I have to use a VPN.
F Bally Sports, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That has just been
horrible.
It's been. I know they're going bankrupt,
disaster.
so that's why they're doing this. But
just a disaster.
It is terrible. But
there has to be some way that the Pistons or every team, because the Pistons aren't the only one on Bally.
How are they not getting in trouble for this?
How is there not some alternative that's been offered?
Yes, or hey, sorry, we can't get this fixed. Here's the stream somewhere
Go
watch it on NBA.com for free or something.
Right, exactly. Now, I just use a VPN, and then I use the VPN to put my it makes me...
Right.
They think I'm in Singapore, so I can watch every game.
Okay. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully they aren't listening to this podcast.
I don't think that there's much they can do about it.
That's true.
But, but not everybody thinks that way. Not everybody even... I have League Pass. If you don't have League Pass, you can't even do that.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people trying to watch the Pistons that aren't watching the rest of the league.
Right.
Or any team for that matter.
Probably most Pistons fans, I feel like.
Yeah, most sports fans. Most sports fans are regional.
Right, exactly.
So they're kind of cutting that off right now, which is a problem.
Right. So what do you usually have on the TV then when you got the Pistons on the laptop?
Whatever game, really.
Yeah,
Last night I was watching Pacers-Sixers.
Okay, yep.
Maxey went for 50.
I was tuned in on that game for sure.
Maxey went for 50.
I didn't watch any of
awesome
Sunday Night
game.
Football, so...
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Neither did I. I don't know. It's getting tougher for football.
It is.
I still watched all day. I watched 1 o'clock game and 4 o'clock games.
Right.
But then Sunday night and Monday night, if it's not a good matchup,
exactly.
It's just
and tonight, Bills Broncos probably won't be a good matchup.
I won't be there. I will not be there.
I have Diggs in one of my fantasy leagues, so I probably tune in for that.
Yeah.
But as far as it being tuned in to watch the game, I don't really care that much. I'll probably just watch NBA instead.
Exactly, that's where I'm at. And I don't know the NBA slate tonight off the top of my head. Again, I haven't even watched all the teams a ton, so there's still interest in basically every team.
Yeah, I think there's a few teams I really have only caught. Like I said, Crunch Time, I'll see them a little bit, but there's definitely a few teams where I've caught less than a half of basketball for, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the season to continue. We're obviously only 10-ish games into the season, and we kind of talked about this on the radio the other day. 101.1 The Beat, by the way. Go listen to us on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Absolutely.
But everything we kind of say right now, for the most part, is probably an overreaction. For the most part.
I think that we should just start this episode. We could do it right now. Asterisk.
Yes.
Every team's played 9 games.
And, so, we can't really, everything we're saying right now is not, I'm not locked in.
It's a small sample size.
Because even though we're basing it off the first 9-10 games,
right?
It's a prediction basically for how the rest of the season is going to go.
Yes.
So
when you sent me the tiers or whatever, the top tier was championship contender, basically. So I was like, okay, so this is a going forward thing.
Right. How has your season outlook changed from a month ago to now based on the 10 games?
I think that's part of the lens to frame it under.
Right.
I just thought there's this concept that Thinking Basketball talks about called championship equity.
Right.
How good of a chance you have to win the championship, basically. If there's, if the top of the top is the Warriors and they have a ton of championship equity, that takes away from all the other teams.
Right.
When the Warriors were the Warriors.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I looked at it. To me, there's two teams that sort of take up a lot of the
equity,
the likeliness of a championship.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Before we get into the NBA topics, we do need to do a slight Lions discussion because that was just an absolute incredible game. If you're not a Lions fan and you were just an NFL fan watching that game, you would have been going crazy. I was happy and then freaking out, at the same time. But at the end of the day, we're 7-2 and we just got a close win for the first time since week 1, basically.
That's true. It was fun to watch for sure. I think I was definitely a little bit stressed out about it as the game was going on and they just kept scoring, but also I was just kind of appreciating because Herbert was balling.
That's true.
Herbert was playing so good. I was he's going crazy. And the defense obviously wasn't playing awesome, but to some degree it was a really good offense hitting on all cylinders.
I think so too. And obviously Keenan Allen absolutely destroyed us.
Yeah, he played really well.
I really thought that Goff had one of his, I feel we've said that a lot this year.
I thought Goff was really good.
Yeah, I thought Goff was phenomenal. Obviously the running back duo of Gibbs and Montgomery was just feasting and all.
First half in particular.
Especially in the first half. Second half was definitely more pass attack. Amon-Ra St. Brown looked phenomenal. The offense just did a really good job of responding basically every time that the Chargers came down and responded to us. It was a fun offensive battle. I saw a tweet that was are Gibbs and Montgomery the best running back duo in the NFL? And I just feel there's they gotta be, right? Who else? What other duos even is there?
McCaffrey and his backup.
Right? Does that even count as a duo?
I don't know.
Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris?
Yeah, but Najee Harris isn't good.
Exactly.
There's probably somebody that I just can't think of
off
the top of my head because neither Jameer or Montgomery are top tier
They're not
guys.
studs, yeah.
If
Chubb was healthy, Chubb and Joam Ford.
Yeah.
Or
probably.
Kareem Hunt, I guess.
Yeah, but then it's
but that's
you
not
would
really
rather
a duo.
Would you trade Gibbs and Montgomery for Christian McCaffrey right now?
You're right. You're right.
Is that duo better?
You're right. That's true.
So I think that there's probably something to be said for that. But I do think whoever you think the second best running back, if you think Gibbs is the number 2, he's probably the best number 2 in the league. If you looked at it from that frame.
Yeah, I would think so.
Thought about it a ton.
And there could just be one that we're not even thinking about right now too, which is highly likely. But yeah, I just thought it was a really good dub from the Lions.
The Falcons duo. I'll go Algier and Bijan.
Yeah, really? Probably.
I mean,
Bijan's crazy. It's because of Bijan. I'm taking
Algier's
Montgomery
really
over
good.
Algier.
Algier had 1,300.
No, Algier's good for sure. I'm not saying he's not, but I just think I'm still taking Montgomery over Algier.
Sure.
I think. But Bijan Gibbs, yes.
But Bijan is,
And it was nice that Bijan got utilized a good amount yesterday too, which was nice to see. But yeah, we talked, we had this game marked down on the calendar because it was just a lot of, we played the Bears and the Packers the next 2 games. We played Tampa and Atlanta and all those other teams last couple weeks. So this was a huge game because if they would have lost this game, it would have really been
I would have been
we're this team is just not
done.
Not going to win big games.
From that perspective, I would have been done.
Yes.
All right, this was a fun team. They're not winning.
We'll win the division. That's cool. We'll take that.
Which is cool because we never win the division.
Exactly. We've never seen it.
We've never ever seen it.
They've actually never won the NFC North. It has been renamed the NFC North. It has never been won by the Detroit Lions.
That's wild. If you had to pick right now, do you think they'll win a playoff game?
I will say yes because thinking about the teams that they have to play, like in the wild card, assuming that we win. Now, Josh Dobbs is on a freaking mission.
That's was going to be my next thing. What if they play Dobbs in the wild card? Like, there's something we should actually just do a Dobbs thing.
We could.
He's unbelievable.
Dude, I love Dobbs.
He's the man.
And you see all the TikToks he posts about about Creed, like listen to
the
Creed.
astronaut song.
It's so funny, yeah, dude. His scramble ability, like is so good, dude.
He plays like Jaden Daniels.
Right?
I don't know.
Like future Heisman.
It's like he like holds on to the ball too much and whatever. Like, because but it'll work. He's a wild athlete.
He'll get out of it.
Yeah, right. He'll get out of it. He's like, I don't know. And he is so likable.
I know.
And he plays such an engaging style of football.
And I hate that he's on the Vikings, man, because I hate the Vikings, but like Dobbs
I thought they were done. Cousins gets hurt, and Cousins was balling.
Yes,
Cousins gets hurt, and I was like, all right, like that sucks for Cousins, of course.
For sure.
It sucks for the Vikings to look like, but I was like, all right, so the Vikings are done.
Yes.
We don't have a worry in the division. Now they've got Dobbs, who's running around like it looks like college football.
Yes.
It looks like he's playing college
football. It
does,
football. Actually, yeah.
He's running around like a college football quarterback or a high school quarterback or something. And they have Justin Jefferson just waiting. You know, he's just sitting in the wings.
They've won 5 straight without every game that Jefferson has not played in.
Maybe he makes them worse.
No.
Maybe not.
Look at an even bigger picture. Like, let's not even talk about like if we play the Vikings in the playoffs. What do the Vikings do? Like, what is their game plan? Like going like next in the offseason?
It depends what Dobbs does the rest of the year.
Like, what if Dobbs gets him to the playoffs?
He's the quarterback,
right?
He's got to be.
But like Kirk probably was like, since he's injured, right? Like,
but Kirk's contract is up, so
that's what I'm saying though. Like, do you just let him walk?
Yeah.
If you know, do you think someone gives Kirk a long-term deal though? Coming off
maybe
an injury?
not a long-term deal, but somebody signs him to like be a starter,
right?
Well, they have he's good.
Like Dobbs is a starting quarterback next year. Predict yes or no?
Yes.
Like day one starter out of 32.
Ooh, yes. But I mean, like if he flames out now, like if he just starts playing,
that's what I'm saying. Like, what's your prediction?
I think he's gonna keep playing good.
Yeah.
The situation that he's in to be playing well right now. I don't know, like,
and O'Connell, I think, has done a really good job, like scheming for him. Like, just they've been hand in hand. Like,
yeah, and it seems like O'Connell loves him. Like, did you see that? Like, Dobbs did the run around thing yesterday and scored a touchdown where he ran around.
O'Connell was so hyped.
I saw a tweet that was like, he just doesn't get tired during a play.
That's a good point.
He has unlimited stamina.
Yeah,
and it feels like that's true. But then O'Connell was just like, that works. Like,
exactly.
I don't know, and he was like so happy. I was like, the vibes.
And it's just weird because it's so different than Kirk. Obviously, like Kirk just makes money throws and doesn't. I mean, Kirk I think does a decent job of avoiding sacks
pretty fast,
but like he doesn't like extend plays like Josh Dobbs does.
No,
obviously, and so it's been a big change for the Vikings, and it's worked.
Yeah, no, it is unbelievable. I'm excited to keep watching him. He is like, I hope that they have a primetime game soon because
I hope they do too.
He's just kind of out there. He's just doing his thing. He's a pure hooper. He's Cam Thomas.
I saw you tweeted that. That was funny.
Yeah,
he is.
He's Michael Beasley. Just give him a ball.
Yeah, he's a baller. I think it's hard to predict like if we beat the Vikings in a wild card game just because we legit haven't. We still have to play them 2 times before a potential playoff matchup and everything.
Right.
And we'll see how they scheme against them. But I will say I think the Lions win because you just look at the wild card teams that they would probably have to play. Yeah. Like I said, assuming we win the division. I think I like our chances against those teams than like the Chargers for sake, like we just played.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why? The Chargers' defense is like horrific.
It is, but like their offenses was so good.
I know, but that was also like Herbert, like on a
like
tear.
Seattle. Seattle obviously is still scary.
Seattle, yeah,
like for sure.
But they haven't been playing good though.
And Dallas is going to be a question. We probably won't play Dallas, right, in the first round. Like, that would be kind of crazy.
They'll definitely be the first wild card.
Right.
I think, right?
And we're not going to be the 4th seed.
Right.
No, there's no shot. So we won't play Dallas. So if it's like Seattle or Atlanta,
I don't even know. I don't.
Who is the 7th team? Yeah, exactly.
Are the Rams still around?
The Rams they had a bye this week, but like they've been losing.
Yeah, they've been losing.
I think they're like 3-6.
Is that right?
3-6 or 4-5. It's one of the two. I know. Because
I would definitely know this if it wasn't NBA season.
Yeah, exactly. But even like there's other teams that I just don't like. Seattle's the big one, obviously. Minnesota, it probably is Minnesota right now, honestly. Like that 7th seed. It's got to be Minnesota.
Yeah.
As of right now.
Then we'd be playing them for a 3rd time in like 5 weeks.
Yes.
And that just
which is not, especially if we win both of the 2 games too. Like,
right.
Can't beat a team 3 times in a year.
The Rams are 3-6. That's crazy.
Ugh. Man, they really fell off.
Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland. They still have to play Cleveland and Baltimore and New Orleans and San Francisco.
Yeah, they're not.
So they're just
playoffs.
Yeah, that's tough.
And the NFC South, with the way the Falcons have been closing games, will probably not send 2 teams to the playoffs. It'll probably just be the Saints. But the Bucs won yesterday, though.
Right.
Okay, we're getting pretty off track.
We are getting pretty off track. But yeah.
Anyways, Lions dub though.
Lions dub.
Love to see it.
Good dub. The offensive line was awesome.
Dude,
that was my biggest thing.
The O-line was incredible.
There's a couple times early in the game where it looked like the tackles, but overall throughout the game, particularly, I just think that they dominated.
Yeah, I think, and Goff had all day to throw. The run game was just unstoppable.
They won the line of scrimmage by 4 yards.
It was great, and they're healthy too. This was the first time. Also, this was the first time that Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Montgomery, J-Mo, Laporta, all 5 played together in a game.
That's what's up. What's up. I love to hear that. Do you think the pass rush is good at all?
No.
Where are we at? Are we done with Can we be done with can you guys stop giving me the Hutch is as good as Max Crosby?
Right, yeah. That's obvious. I don't obviously, yes. Yeah, I mean the pressure, he was in the backfield, but it's just pressures are cool and everything.
I don't even, but he's not, yeah.
But
right.
How cool, we just can't.
I don't know. I didn't think he was awesome. Yeah. I don't think
Herbert even had many plays where it was wow, he really avoided taking a sack
did it
there.
Twice.
That's what I'm saying.
But then it was I feel like there are times that happens, and Hutch is a freak athlete, but then it's but freak athletes are supposed to make that tackle.
Right. That's true. Yeah, it was.
Freak athlete is Myles Garrett's unfair. He's
what's
the best
bigger
athlete in the world.
concern right now? Edge pressure or just defensive line pressure or the secondary?
I think defensive line pressure.
Right.
I would say. Now, the secondary didn't play awesome. Don't get me wrong. But
I think they had moments, though.
I think that they've had enough moments throughout the season, whereas right now with the defensive line, it feels like it's been 5 weeks since they've really...
Hutchinson is, I hate to be this guy, but, we didn't hear it. We haven't heard his... not that guy.
Thibodeau's going crazy.
He is, you're right. But we haven't heard his name called the last, several games, which is... Not a good thing, obviously.
No, not at all. It's unfortunate.
Okay, I think that we are good, though, to hop into... Okay, wait, one more thing. Well, just because I saw this. Dan Orlovsky this morning on Get Up said that C.J. Stroud is the current MVP of the NFL.
I'm happy you brought this up because I should have mentioned this too. I'd still go Lamar, but he's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that... There is absolutely a very clear path to him just being the second best quarterback in the league by next season.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He doesn't miss throws.
Really?
He's
second
aggressive.
Best in the whole league?
No, he threw an interception yesterday. But he's aggressive. He pushes the ball downfield, but he doesn't put it in harm's way.
Yeah. And I think the interception that he threw was a clear miscommunication on the route for sure, because he threw it in the flat, and I think it was Tank Dell. I'm pretty sure he kind of just started taking an outer route up over top.
Tank Dell died yesterday, and then he just
I know. I thought he was done for.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Okay, let's get into this topic though. So today, obviously, we've mentioned it a few times. We're doing an NBA tier ranking based on the first 10 games.
But going forward.
It's kind of tricky. I should have.
Where we think they'll end up is how I thought about it.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's where we think the NBA teams will end up, kind of based on what we've seen so far. Because if you ask me, and I assume if you ask Matt a month ago, the tier, if we did the same exact list, it would be much different. It'd be
pretty different.
Especially the middle. So here are the 6 tiers. Starts off, championship contenders is the top tier. Then we have right below them, knocking on the contender's door. Then we have, should still be a playoff team, like a top 6 seed, or make it out of the play-in tournament. You would be surprised if this team didn't make the playoffs. That's your 3rd tier. 4th tier is the play-in tier. Is this team going to make the play-in? Are they going to not even make the play-in? Are they going to make it and then lose? It's you're not confident in them being a playoff lock, but you still think that they are in that tier to fight for play-in, which I think that's the most loaded tier, obviously. Then there's the blow it up and tank tier, which that's a very limited tier. There's a few teams that have fallen to that. And then finally the bottom tier, the lottery tier, which is just these teams suck and there's no shot they make the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
Is basically where it's at. Yeah. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to go team by team, or do you want to go tier by tier?
Let's go tier by tier.
Tier by tier.
Actually, can we time out for 1 second?
Yes.
Can I get a Wi-Fi password so that I can access my tier?
All right, we're back.
Okay.
Bad. So yeah, we can go tier by tier here. Do you want to start the bottom tier or top tier? Because obviously, like, it would be cooler if we started with the bottom because it'd be more revealing. But for the listener, like, they probably want to hear about the good teams first, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm all about the listener, so let's do the top.
Exactly.
Top tier first.
Let's start off in the championship contenders tier. I got a question.
Okay.
How many teams are in your championship contenders tier?
So I have contender tier A and contender tier B.
Okay.
Contender
fair.
tier A is 2 teams.
Okay. I have 4 teams in my championship contender tier.
Okay.
And I think if I were to split this up into, like, because I think it's disrespectful to not include all of these guys as championship contenders, but I do kind of agree with you. Like, there's 2 of them that are better than the other 2. That's kind of how I personally feel. So give me your first team in your championship contenders A tier, and then I assume they're in my, the Nuggets, obviously. Like, that was the one thing when I said, like, everything we say for the most part will be an overreaction. Saying the Nuggets are title favorites is not. That just is there's a few things that are like, duh. Like, if we knew that before the season, it's been confirmed so far throughout the season. Yeah.
I guess that there's not a ton to say. Like, nothing that's really changed very drastically at all. Jokic is still the best player in the league, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
they're
unbelievably good. About. Yeah, I think I'm excited for this team in the playoffs. I think that there's certain matchups that will be more interesting this year. Like, I mean, but it's largely a very similar team to last year. The bench is a little bit different, and I think the bench has played well.
I think so,
the
too.
New guys on the bench, Peyton Watson in particular, has really impressed me.
Strother's had a few games,
Strother's had some big games as well. I've texted with some friends about him. He's really, really good. He's just very smart and, makes shots. And who is Reggie Jackson, who's gotten some minutes up to this point. I love Reggie Jackson. And he's played really well.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
Yeah, Jamal Murray obviously is out. I can't remember how long he's out for, maybe like a month or something.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can get back soon, but this is not something that the Nuggets are not familiar with, playing without Jamal Murray, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Jokic has just been absolutely incredible, averaging 30 bomb right now. I think KCP has been really good. He's taken on a little bit more of an offensive load, I feel like.
KCP, who's always been really good defensively, but I think this year, like, I've really been like, man, KCP.
He's clamping up.
Like, he is clamping up. He's getting around every screen, and he's always been able to do that. His screen navigation's always been pretty spectacular, but I think that this season, like, it's jumped more than almost ever.
Yeah, Nuggets are in that championship contender tier for sure. I'll go off with my next championship contender because I assume that this is your other A tier championship team, probably. The Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
The Celtics have just been. Obviously, they started off, 5-0, I think, 6-0, something like that. Lost to the Anthony Edwards Minnesota Timberwolves. But other than that, I mean, this top 5 for the Celtics has just been unreal. Al Horford's been off to a bit of a slow start, but other than that, like...
I believe in him.
Exactly. Derek White has been absolutely phenomenal so far this year. Dude. Porzingis has been great. Tatum and, like, everyone is shooting the ball well, basically. Drew Holiday kind of isn't, but everyone else, like, they're just balling.
Yeah, okay. Do you still think Jaylen Brown's the second best player on the team?
I'll give it to him for now. I know that you're big on the Porzingis train. I'm still giving it to Jaylen Brown. I don't think he's like done anything to make me say he's not.
Can I get the first super hot takeoff?
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen anybody else have. So maybe this will make me sound like an idiot to smarter people or dumber people. Either way, maybe this makes me sound like an idiot to everybody.
It could.
On the Celtics, they'd be worse off losing Derek White than losing Jaylen Brown.
But it makes sense though. You know what I'm like? I get that. I get what you're saying. It'd be detrimental to lose Derek White. Now it would still hurt, obviously, to lose Jaylen Brown.
Of course, he's good. He's very good.
Yes, but like from what Derek White does for that team is probably more needed. Yeah, you're probably because like then you can just, hey, Drew Holiday, we need you to take on more of an offensive load. You've done that plenty of times in your career.
Porzingis, a couple more shots. Tatum, get one or two more. Like. Jaylen Brown, I think that Jaylen Brown adds less.
Right.
Overall. Because I think that he's also probably the worst defender of like the starting 6.
Yeah, he's not a bad defender, but...
No, not at all.
He's just surrounded by great guys.
He's surrounded by better ones, I think. And he does have like some limitations on that end, I'd say. Maybe not limitations because they're not like physical limitations, but I do think that he gets lost more than the other guys. I think that he gets blown by more than the other perimeter guys. Like, I don't know. I think that he's the worst defender of the crew, though he is a good one. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and Derek White's just always moving the ball. He's just always making the right play, always in the good spot, hitting threes, doing the whole thing. The baldy, it looks great.
It does look great.
It looks great.
Pretty
he really
funny.
pops on TV.
He really does. Yeah. The Celtics are. I have a couple other Eastern Conference teams up here, but the Celtics are for sure that top dog.
I've enjoyed how they're defending. I've enjoyed how they're deploying Drew Holiday in pretty fun ways. He's just like guarding bigs all the time. Like he guarded Embiid. He was Embiid's primary matchup, and they just sort of helped with Porzingis off of somebody else. He guarded Karl-Anthony Towns as well. They did something similar, and it's like, I'll say with Cat, like Karl-Anthony Towns is killing bigs because he's so much quicker than them.
Right.
And obviously he can shoot and he can stretch it out farther than almost any other big ever. But I think that what really separates Cat aside from that is his ability to drive, his ability to put the ball on the floor. Well, if Drew Holiday's on him, then he doesn't have that. And bigs you can't really move Drew Holiday because obviously he's extremely strong, but also his center of gravity is so much lower than yours.
Right.
If you're like a Karl-Anthony Towns, that it's like he's not particularly movable. You can shoot over him a little bit, but he's going to bother you and you can't get around him at all. Like you can't really put the ball on the floor with him there.
And it's just like they have so many different looks they can throw at stars.
Yeah, they can change it up so more than any other team.
Which I feel like that is a common strategy from, good defensive coaches when you're playing against a really good offensive player. You just want to give him different looks. You don't want him to get comfortable.
But they have the most versatility in that department.
Like they can do so much, especially with like a bigger guy, like you said, because Drew and Derek White can both take on a bigger guy than them. So I wrote down an interesting Boston Celtics stat.
Okay.
Obviously, we know that they like to shoot threes. That's
true.
Ben Mazzulla ball, their second 3-point percentage or 3-point attempts this year. They have 5 guys who are shooting basically 5 3-pointers a night. I think Porzingis is like right under 5. 5 dudes shooting 38+% from 3 that all at least have 5 attempts per night.
Hauser, right?
Sam Hauser, man. He has been that dude.
He's got a torch, man.
He does. I love Sam Hauser. He's good in 2K, too.
I think he's better at defense than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. And it helps, obviously, when you have a lot of other good defenders on the team.
Of course, but I think that, when you see Sam Hauser come on the floor, you're like, all right, that's who we want to make guard. And I think that he holds up better than most of the
Dude, speaking of this is off topic. Did you see the Hawks broadcast going at Duncan Robinson?
Kenny Beecham.
Yeah, dude, that was dude. All those clips he posted were so
that was
funny.
hilarious.
'Cause I wasn't like watching that game live when it happened.
Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah. Like they're just going at him. The one that really got me was like he came off of a DHO and just like pulled a 3.
Yeah.
Classic Duncan Robinson. Does that several times a game. It's like a great move out of his.
Shot.
He goes, that's a bad shot right there from Duncan Robinson.
Funny,
I'm like, that's a pretty. I feel like it's a good shot.
Yeah,
honestly,
it looked like a pretty good shot. I think that's what they're looking for. Yeah, and then he was like defending somebody, and he was like being a little physical.
Yeah.
And he was like, he just fouled him. He can't guard anybody. He just fouled.
Yeah, he had one play where he got a defensive stop, and he was just hating. He was like, Robinson can't guard nobody. They got like that, he just got to stop. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh man, that was
crazy.
Just D1 hating right there.
That was D1
from Dominique. Yeah,
it was D1 hating.
Okay. Let me hear that close up your championship A
top
contenders
2 tier.
Okay, so who's the first team in your B tier championship contender?
So you said that you had 4 total contender teams.
Yes, so I might have the other 2.
You definitely probably do because I have 6 teams also in the contenders. Like where I guess at these 6 teams, it's like I feel great about saying that they'll probably win a round at least.
Right.
I'll start with the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Are they a team in your next tier?
They're not in my championship contenders tier.
Okay.
I will say the Denver Nuggets are the only Western Conference team.
So that was going to be
in my championship contenders.
Because I think
that is strictly because of Denver. Like it's not because these other 3 teams suck. It's just like if I'm going off not suck, but you know what I mean. Like
yeah. I know what you mean.
Because of how good Denver is, like it just is going to take a lot for any of these Western Conference teams to beat them and make a championship, which to be a championship contender, obviously you got to make the championship. So that's kind of how I viewed it. And that's why I added that other tier when, before the show, the knocking on the contenders door.
Yeah.
So I have 3 Eastern Conference teams, 1 Western in my championship contenders.
Okay. So that makes some sense.
But we can get into the Timberwolves, though.
Sure. All right. Do you think, would you have them number 2 in the West?
They are the first team in my knocking on the contenders door tier.
Okay.
Which I didn't rank them, but they're first on here because I made the tier specifically for them. Basically, it didn't feel right enough. Not having them
up there.
Yes, exactly.
I can agree with that. And I get what you're saying because it's not necessarily proven yet. This, again, it's only 10 games in or whatever. But if I am predicting, I do think that this team's going to be awesome. I picked them to go to the conference finals before the season.
You did.
There's part of it. This is kind of priors as well.
When we did the over-unders, this was a lock over. The Timberwolves over was an absolute lock.
It was. So they have the best defensive rating in the league by a mile. They have like a defensive rating out of 2009 or something. They have beat the Nuggets and the Celtics and the Warriors already. They only have 2 losses. I think like the biggest, like people are going to point to the Anthony Edwards sort of him being like taking a step, you could say, like he's up to like 28 a game,
which obviously
he's closing out games, and that is unbelievably important. Don't get me wrong, and it's right up there with what I'm about to say. I think Rudy Gobert looks like he's back like at his peak, basically.
Right.
And if you have that, that means your defense is going to be sick.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have that and McDaniels and Edwards and, Conley, who's a smart defender at the very least, and, guys off the bench and Naz Reid, et cetera, et cetera. I think, like, this defense is going to be just so good.
Yeah. And I think, starts. Like, obviously Anthony Edwards offensively has, like, started to take the superstar leap, which, like, most people just expected. We saw him playing FIBA. Like, we knew it was going to happen, up from 24.5 to, like, 28 a game right now.
Right.
Which probably is going to last. I don't see him, like, dropping off anything. But I think defensively, Anthony Edwards has just been locked in. Like Anthony Edwards has always had the tools to be a great defender. He's so athletic. Obviously, he can stay in front of anyone.
Last year, I think.
And I think this year specifically, like he has looked great defensively. Yeah. Like and surrounded by Jaden McDaniels, who is an all NBA type defender, all world. Rudy Gobert, who is going to be probably the top of DPOY talks so far.
I think it's him and Anthony Davis.
10 games through 10 games in the year, obviously, but like Gobert will be in those talks by the end of the year for sure. I think that it's just been phenomenal. Like you said, they have the best defensive rating in the NBA by a whole 2.7 rating points, which doesn't sound like a lot. The whole league is separated by like 15. Like 1 through 30 is like a 15-point differential. And the New York Knicks, who are second, are 2.7 points behind them. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has been a really fun team. You mentioned Naz Reid. Like, he has just been balling for them off of the bench. And I feel like Cat has kind of gotten off to like a bit of a slower start offensively.
I talked with AJ about this like last night and a little bit today. Just like how important he is to this team. It almost feels like, now obviously he's their second option, and so it's important. And come playoff time, he needs to be good for them to win. However, compared to some of the other teams in like the West in particular, or really just in general around the league, aside from maybe the Celtics, like as a second option, it feels like he's a little bit of a luxury.
Right?
They're not super reliant on him because of how good the defense is and how good Ant is, and the fact that, Naz Reid can step in and provide a decent amount of what Cat does offensively. He can step, like, obviously not the same level. But, I mean, he's an unbelievable shooter and can create for himself off the bench as a big, which is, an awesome luxury to have. Not many teams have it at all. And, McDaniels is stepping up offensively a little bit. I think in that Boston game that we mentioned earlier, he hit a couple big shots down the stretch despite missing some early in the game. He just kept shooting, and it worked for him. And I think that's really good to see. He's got confidence. The confidence is building, and he's hitting, pull-up mid-range jumpers. He's hitting catch-and-shoot threes. All good stuff to see from McDaniels, who I think could, he's going to have an incredible career if I had to guess. Like in the Cat thing, if it's not detrimental to the defense, which it obviously hasn't been yet,
you're right,
then what am I super worried about?
And that's kind of how I feel. Like, I don't think it'll be detrimental to the defense either. Like, with having Rudy Gobert play at this peak like he has been, like a Utah Jazz Rudy Gobert, obviously last year was a weird season.
Wasn't great. He's moving better than he was last year. Like, in space, he's just been better.
Exactly. And I think, like, offensively, too, like, him and Conley, obviously, that was a main reason why they wanted to get him. Like, they have a clear connection, and so that's been really nice. I think the Timberwolves are, like I said, I didn't want to put them in that championship contenders. I just felt like it's a bit early for that. Now, if we're 20 games from now, and it's still, like, they're clearly the second best team in the West, they might be in my championship contenders. But right now, they're atop of the knocking on the contenders' door.
Yeah, and I think the other layer of it is that they're probably the best built to deal with Denver.
Yes.
Because they do have all the, like, multiple bigs that they can throw
exactly.
at them. And,
compared to, like, a Mavericks or Warriors or Phoenix,
And, Gobert can... Now, Jokic kills Gobert relatively consistently because he's Jokic, but I think...
But that's Jokic, yeah.
It's not like they just don't have any guys to deal with him at all. And Ant... I mean, they were the toughest out. Like Denver said, they're the toughest out for them last year, and they didn't even have McDaniels.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how their season continues to unfold.
And I'm happy that Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson, and Rudy Gobert have squashed their little feud from
True.
From
and
last
Ant
season.
is passing the ball to Gobert now.
Yes, he is.
He's actually throwing him loud.
Remember that stat last year? He passed him the ball like one time. And
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like 10 games
this year
or
he's throwing it to him a little bit.
It's pretty nice to see.
It is nice to see.
Okay, so I'll name off one of my other teams in the Actually, let me just tell you what the two other teams are, and then we'll just see where you have them. Because I already kind of spoiled it. 3 East teams, 1 West in the championship contenders. My other 2 teams are the Bucks and 76ers. One of kind of both sides here. The Bucks being here is kind of I'm not overreacting to the first 10 games, I still think they're a championship contender. And I think the 76ers one is like, before the season, I wouldn't have had them in championship contenders, and now I do. So it's kind of going on both sides. We can start off with Philly, because I think that Philly is, we saw them take on the Pistons in the the in-season tournament. And then last night, like you said earlier, Tyrese Maxey dropped 50 points, which was just phenomenal. This team is just, the role players on this team have just been so good. And then Tyrese Maxey himself stepping up, averaging 28 points per game right now. I didn't even realize until we started this show that Joel Embiid is averaging 6 assists a night too.
Yeah.
Like, I knew his assists were up, but I just hadn't checked like his actual stat line. That's pretty incredible. Embiid, even in that game against the Pistons, I thought the Pistons were doing a good job, like not letting him get the ball early on in the first half. And he still just finds a way to score 30. Like, he's so good at drawing fouls. It's really frustrating to watch when he plays against your team. Yes. Even kind of in general, it's kind of frustrating to watch. But you can't knock him. I mean, it works. He's so good at it. And like I said, Tobias Harris has been so good this year.
Yep.
Kelly Oubre, very unfortunate what happened to Kelly Oubre, man. That is terrible. Yeah. He was playing very well. PJ Tucker and Nick Batum being added to this team, I think, have done a solid job.
Batum, I've really liked Batum.
Or not PJ. Why did I say PJ Tucker?
But Batum, Rocco.
Yes.
But Batum has been very good.
He has. He's shooting like 60% from 3 too.
And he's just like a good, like, he just moves the ball, and
he was good on the Clippers
defense
too. Like, he's like the definition of a role player. Like, they revived his career in LA, is what he said. That's what he thanked him.
Batum Battalion.
Yeah.
It's me.
Why
Nico.
Batum,
I've been seeing people call him Nico. I don't know if that's always been a thing, but
I think it is.
Okay.
It is pretty cool. But yeah, Philly, man. Like, I didn't think this team was a contender. I fall for the Philly bait every year. In the playoffs the last several years, I've picked them to go far. So do the refs. You're right. We'll see if this, obviously they've been a good regular season team for the last X amount of years, and then come playoffs time, it changes. We're 9 games into the season. Based on those 9 games, they have the best record in the NBA. So
that is true. Yeah, they've been awesome. Tyrese Maxey, I think, is the first thing that you got to mention. It's just like he's just taking a ridiculous
All-NBA leap right now.
Yeah, had 50 last night, averaging 29 a game. I think you might have got 27
just
before
a little
he had 50.
Bit. Oh, you're right. So good point.
That might make sense. But yeah, he's shooting the shit out the ball. He is getting to the rim anytime that he wants. It's very hard to stay in front of him, and he also has like an unbelievable step back 3 that he's been pretty reliant on this season. That's really worked for him, and he's unbelievable in transition, so they can play with pace when they need to. He can speed them up. 29-7, 1 block, 1 steal. Been defending. Last night he had He had 3 blocks total, but 2 of them were like fast break blocks where it was like, there's no way they get a stop right here. And then Maxey just goes up and blocked the ball, and I was like, oh my God, what is going? Like, this dude is possessed.
Right.
I don't even know what the comparison is. Like, I was trying to think of it. It's like some sort of like Dwayne Wade variant where instead of being super vertically athletic, he can also shoot threes.
Who is that?
I don't know. Like Zach LaVine, but again, not the same vertical.
Obviously. He really is like in his own lane. And we kind of talked about also like Pistons fans, stop comparing Marcus Sasser to Tyrese
oh my
Maxey.
God, yeah, we talked about that on radio.
Dude, Gregory Kelser in that game on Friday, dude, he said it maybe 5 times. Every time Sasser did something or Maxey did something, if they were on the court together, he'd be like, Marcus Sasser, he's got a little bit of Tyrese Maxey in his game. He said it so many times, dude, I was just like, no, dude, like Maxey's just different. His speed is just like Sasser's not that fast.
Yeah, he's a freak.
He's
a freak. He's not a freak. Like, people think freak athletes are like, like Shaedon Sharp or whatever. Like guys that can, guys that do cool. Guys with 43-inch verticals and stuff like that. But I think that there's more to it than that. And when you consider everything, Maxey is
and like you brought it up, like the way that Maxey comes off of screens and comes off of dribble handoffs,
he just gets to the rim at a different level than Sasser ever will be able to.
It's so hard to stop,
and that's okay.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing that Sasser's
Maxey looks
like
a superstar.
Exactly. So, Sasser's a rookie.
Sasser's a rookie. I think that him and Embiid. I brought up all the dribble handoff numbers on the radio the other day, so I won't do it again. But him and Embiid's dribble handoff game has been pretty unbelievable. Yeah. I think that it's relatively unstoppable. There's no clear answer for it. You go under, like, you can't really go under, you can't really go over, you can't really switch. You can't really show and recover. Like, there's just not a ton to be done.
Yeah.
So
One thing last year that we kind of mentioned in the pregame show was that Philly was, one of the best I think they were the best 3-point percentage team in the NBA last year, but didn't shoot a lot. Kind of more the same this year. They're bottom 5 in attempts, but they're top 6 in 3-point percentage. I kind of thought that Nick Nurse maybe would have a different mentality, but also Toronto Raptors didn't shoot a lot of threes as well. So it's kind of been more of the same for them, but with Kelly Oubre going out, that's probably more 3-pointers that don't get shot because Oubre was one of their biggest 3-point shooters.
He lets them fly.
For sure.
D'Anthony Melton's been letting it fly,
I
must say. I don't know what, he's way more confident than he's ever been, I think. I don't remember him
Harden was holding him back, I guess.
He might have. I don't remember Melton taking pull-up transition threes in the past. Maybe I was wrong.
Right.
I've always been a big D'Anthony Melton fan. I don't think it was quite like this. He's always been fine shooting threes, but this seems to, I don't know, he got possessed by Seth Curry or something.
But he just got that confidence now, I guess.
He does.
So where does Philly, where do you have them in your tier?
I have them in the contender B tier.
Okay.
Yes.
With Minnesota?
I agree that they're contenders, but yeah, with Minnesota, I do think Minnesota's better. But I still worry in the playoff time, Embiid is just not quite the natural playmaker. I think that when you start throwing all these different, when you really get a scout on him, it feels like sometimes, and he sees extra help from different spots and things of that nature. It feels like even if he makes the read, he's probably making it a half second slow, and that could be okay, but also his ball placement's not always great. It does feel like that's gotten better this season. But
I also do think it's pretty indicative that in the playoffs, the refs just let them play more physical.
That was the other thing.
Yeah. It is a thing.
He's an unbelievable foul drawer. Legitimately unbelievable. He knows every which way, and it sucks to watch. And he's almost so good at it that he becomes too reliant on it, and it makes him bad in the playoffs. That's legit what it is, I think, or at least part of it.
It definitely is. But yeah, with the way Maxi's playing, we continue to talk about how they have this max slot, so they can, if they want to do something, they can. But they might not have to. They just kind of ride this season out and see if they can make a run. Maybe it was Simmons and Harden, the ones that were holding this team back the whole time.
Might have been. The vibes are good. Pat Bev.
Yeah, that's true. Pat Bev been that dude. Okay, so like I said, the last team in my championship contenders tier is the Milwaukee Bucks, opposite of the Philadelphia 76ers, where the Bucks have been very shaky to start this year. But I'm not overreacting. I still think that a combination of Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo will work itself out. Right now, they're 5-4. They're the 25th best defense in the entire NBA, which is a complete shocker. Obviously, losing Drew Holiday, we knew that was going to take a hit, but Lopez was the runner-up to Depoy last year. You have Giannis, who is a former Depoy. Malik Beasley has not been that dude to be the hounding defender. He's not a stopper, I guess. He has shot the ball well.
Who would have thought?
I think there has been some, Giannis obviously has had some big games. They hit the 50 ball against Indiana. They lost in that game, I guess.
That's what I was, and he had 35 last night, I want to say, and they lost.
So he's definitely had some big games. Dame, like I said, it's weird watching the Bucks because there's just spurts where Dame is out there, and it's Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck. That's really weird. I think Marjon Beauchamp has been really good. I think he's been a good guy sparking off their bench, but they're still figuring things out. I think this is a very large adjustment that I may have underestimated for Giannis and Brook Lopez and guys like that.
Would they have been in this tier for you before the season?
In the championship contenders tier?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have been in it.
They wouldn't have been in the top one?
With Boston, and I still liked Boston over Milwaukee, but I probably would have included them together.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes.
It
would have been those three without Philly
before the season for sure. And I did move them down, obviously. The defense being 25th is pretty crazy. I'm not sure that it's gonna stay that way. Maybe it will, but I think that
it should get better.
It should get better. I think that they've been playing some good offenses lately. I will say also. But
like the Pistons,
like the Pistons. But they have Brook and Giannis, and so I still believe that there's at least a floor that's top half of the league,
right?
And maybe I'm wrong. And a lot of it also comes with the familiarity of the system that they're playing. They're trying to be way more aggressive. They're trying to force more turnovers. They're trying to get Brook at the level a little bit more. And they had him at the level all the time really in the season. Now they're getting him to play drop, which is good. Which is a good change. He's a very sound defender, and you can kind of funnel everything to him. And it's from what I've watched, he's still awesome around the rim. like he's still very impactful down there. They just kind of brought him away from that, and that needs to not happen. Just play him and drop all the time. It looks like they're transitioning to that, though, so that's good. But they have forced more turnovers, but it's not worth it. Like, they're playing more aggressive. They're trying to swarm ball handlers, yada, yada, yada. They just don't have the personnel for that. That's just not what this personnel accounts for. They can play sound, drop defense, and, let everything sort of try and funnel everything to the rim, and, they'll give up more pull-ups and everything like that, but I think that that's just what you got to do. You just got to be more fundamental. They're trying to like it's like how the Raptors played defense over the Nurse last season.
That's true.
That's kind of the vibe that they're going for, I think, and that's just
Adrian Griffin was obviously an assistant in Toronto,
so he tried to bring that over, and that's just not the vibe for this roster, this team in particular. I think that I don't know. It just doesn't feel like Griffin has done the best job, is what I'll say.
Right. Yeah. I think that because I mean, to be fair, like that was another thing that I kind of just let sneak out the door is like all these other teams that had big acquisitions still have the same personnel, like this is a brand new coaching staff and adding a superstar that is someone that these guys have never really played with before. So it's definitely, I kind of underestimated that they would get off to a slower start. I still think like I would be shocked if this team wasn't a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, really would be. I would be shocked if they, weren't, if at any point I don't say that this team isn't a contender. Like it'd just be really weird. We've talked about like Alex Caruso, like is probably the hottest commodity in the NBA right now, and the Bucks are like the team that benefits the most.
So much sense. But
they benefit.
I don't know
most.
if they could, like Caruso.
They don't have a
get
first
real
round pick
back.
Yeah.
Like and
you got
he's
to
going to
trade
get back.
Beauchamp probably.
That's not enough. Like I think that they're just going to get way more.
But like even
that's
what I'm saying. Like Milwaukee doesn't want to trade him. He's their only young
probably
guy.
not. Right. Yeah.
So like
in Jackson, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I guess
like they're
Andre.
like really trying to get those two guys to be playoff level players really fast, and I'm not quite positive that Beauchamp is there yet.
Right, definitely not.
I'll say.
And he's been aggressive. He puts up a good amount of shots.
He's always been aggressive.
Yeah, like he puts up a lot more shots than I kind of thought he was going to this year.
Yeah, he's always been a little bit like that when he got time.
He did score like 90 in that Pro-Am game this
True.
summer. So
that's a good point.
So he's used to it. So does that wrap up your championship contenders, or do you have more?
No. I've got a few more.
Okay, so I have. I did mine obviously different. Like I said, I had the 4 championship contenders, and I have the knocking on contender door, which like basically is the C tier of contenders. Yeah. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I now that I look at my list further, maybe it's unfair to a couple teams that are below them, I'll say.
Okay.
Because I think that there's some teams that aren't in this tier that could absolutely get to the level of being in this tier.
I totally agree.
But I still have the Lakers and the Warriors as contenders.
Okay.
I think that at the end of the day, now let's start with the Warriors.
Yes. I have the Warriors in my knocking on contender door tier as well.
Yeah, and that's fair. And maybe I'm betting a little bit too much on them sort of figuring everything out because they always seem to, but obviously they're a year older. Steph is still very much that guy. Steph is still very much one of the best players in the league. To me, probably a top 3 player in the league. Without a ton of hesitation in saying that. Luka's probably getting pretty close.
Yeah.
But they're 7th in offensive rating.
Unreal.
They're top half of the league in defense also. I think CP3 has been really good, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I think that he's like having him as like your bench guy, and he just sort of stabilizes everything and just never makes mistakes off the bit. I don't know. It's a really cool flavor to have.
I mean, they're 14th in the NBA in turnovers right now, and they were last in the NBA last year. So
yeah, I mean,
that's a huge
he never
plus.
turns the ball. He's always been like that. He doesn't turn the ball over. The problem, or I guess the biggest problem, is that outside of Steph, if I'm not mistaken, nobody has scored 20 points all year.
Yeah, I personally don't know that, but
not a single guy.
It wouldn't surprise me. Clay hasn't scored 20 once.
Highest was 18.
No one else would have then. Wiggins has not.
Wiggins has been
what
really
happened?
Bad. What happened to him?
So, like, do you think? Remember, like the whole weird thing with Wiggins last year. Like, what happened with Wiggins last year? Because it was.
I remember there being a weird thing with Wiggins. What was it?
The rumor was that, and I think it was proven like not to be true, but I think it was that like his wife cheated on him or like had a kid with someone else.
Yes, that's right.
And I think it was, and he missed a lot of time, and all of it was for personal reasons.
Okay. Yes, I remember that rumor.
I don't think that was true.
I remember
though.
him missing time.
I'm pretty sure that they like someone on the Warriors came out and was like, "Please stop! Like this is not."
I do
true.
think you're right about that. Also.
But still, he still missed like
a ton of
at least 40 games last year for personal reasons or whatever.
Right.
Never really came out what happened, which it's personal, so
yeah, it doesn't
matter.
Have to.
But it's clear that his game has been affected since being an all-star starter 2 years ago.
A fraud all-star starter.
Yes, all-star starter though.
But an all-star starter. Yeah, K-pop all-star starter. Yeah, he just doesn't really make threes anymore.
Right.
You know, like I I don't even know what to. He doesn't even close games all the time anymore. He was the second best player when they won the championship. Arguably, I think he was third. But people think that he
totally argue that he was second, though.
Yeah. I mean, he was rebounding. He was their second leading scorer. I think. I thought Draymond's defense made him number 2 to me. But Wiggins' defense was incredible then too, and like it just hasn't really quite been put together this season. I don't really know what's going on, but they need him to be. If they want to win a championship, he needs to be good.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree. I think that it's hard because like Kuminga also has not been very good. So that like kind of wing forward spot has been really weird. I think Draymond has been like solid since he's played.
I think Draymond, like, he's still Draymond.
Yeah,
is what I'll say.
It's kind of hard for him to just be bad. Like,
he's like one of the smartest players ever.
Exactly. Like, it just works. Clay hasn't been that bad. I think he's like Clay just gets a lot of shit. A lot of people like to hate on Clay nowadays.
But like he's also not scored 20 points yet all year.
That's true. And like he just is not the defender that like he used to be, obviously.
Definitely not. Yeah, that's part of what.
But the reason why I still have them, like I said, in this knocking on contender door tier is just because Steph has been absolutely unreal. You talked about it. Like he's shooting 45% from 3 right now. Almost 50, 40, 90, 48% from the field. I just think that you can't count this Warriors team out. And if I had to pick a team to knock off the Denver Nuggets, this Warriors team is right up there, man. They did it a couple years ago, obviously without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. So that is a clear difference. But yeah, I just think that if we're talking about like, because obviously in the playoffs you got to have the studs like to win games. Like the Timberwolves for sure. I'm not saying like I have the Timberwolves above the Warriors. But having Steph Curry is such a huge plus in playoff success. I think that they'll figure it out. That's why I still think they're a contender for sure.
Yeah, I think they could figure it out. And I mean, if like Chris Paul hasn't shot it well, you know, he's just like, I think he's playing well, and he's obviously distributing and stabilizing everything in a way that they've never really had when Steph Curry's out. But he's not shooting it particularly well. It does feel like there's been a couple times where like late in games he kind of gets going, and that's been good to see. But he's not shooting it well. Wiggins isn't shooting it very well. Kuminga obviously has been pretty brutal. So I guess if all those guys start to put it together, then things could look different.
Which I want to say that Wiggins is going to put it together, but like I can't say it because like
he's 15% from 3 right now.
It's been a long time, I feel like, since he's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary.
You're totally right. I do like what Gary Payton's done this year. I do think he's been pretty good. But yeah, no, I don't. Like, that's why they're not contenders, and I don't like. That's why I feel confident putting the Timberwolves above them. Is that there's just a certain defensive stability that all those teams have right now, and like the wings and just the role players in general, I believe in a little bit more. Steph is still the second best player in the West to me.
Yeah.
Luka might be there pretty soon, but right now
Luka's right there. Yeah. But yeah, it's got to be Steph. So your other team, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes.
Still a contender.
Still a contender. I think that LeBron is unbelievable for his age. Like truly
crazy.
What I like the games where he's like really gets going and it's like, all right, so he's turning it on today, are like mind blowing to some degree, and he's like about to be 40, and it doesn't really matter. I just personally believe that, like, you know, they're only 5-5 right now, and maybe it's unfair for me to still have them this high, but it's only been 10 games. I truly believe that, and they could go on a 4-game win streak.
5-4. You know,
they could go on a 4-game win streak, and it changes everything from a
the records really don't matter that much.
Right,
they kind of do.
Not at this level of team, I think that they don't. Maybe they do when we get later, but it's you could make the case that like LeBron's playing too many minutes right now, and so it's not very feasible.
Which was so weird after game one because whatever happened to that.
Minutes restriction.
He's only playing 24
actually
a night.
Actually, he's going to play 40 every other game. But Anthony Davis is still really, really good. I think I'm probably higher on Anthony Davis than the average person at this point. I think that he is all-world defensively, probably maybe the best defensive player in the league. Offensively, he's been pretty solid. I mean, he's still 24 and 12 every night. You can't really complain too much about that. And he's still healthy right now. You could make the case that he's not going to be healthy late in the season. I'd say that's fair. But I think that Reeves is going to get going a little bit more than he has. He's been pretty brutal up to this point, but I'm a believer in him generally. I think that what they've gotten from Cam Reddish is pretty nice. Yep. I think Christian Wood has came in and like kind of done what he does pretty well, shot it well from three and everything. I'm just sort of convinced that this team should be pretty good on both ends of the floor come playoff time.
Yeah, I struggled with where to put the Lakers. I will say I have them in the tier below. I have them in the like should still make the playoffs like top 6 tier right now.
Okay.
And I considered putting them in play-in tier, but I didn't because one, they have LeBron. Obviously, like they're just not like they're a contender. You know,
LeBron's
at the end
made
of the day.
The play-in before.
And that's kind of what that's why I kind of thought about doing it though because last year they were in the play-in, right? Weren't they the 7th seed last year?
Yeah.
But I think just like other than LeBron and AD, it's been rough, I think, for like the rest of the roster.
Absolutely.
Reeves, obviously, I just think they're going to pick up play. Like, I think the rest of the guys will start to play better.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent, who has been injured, is shooting like 5% from 3 right now. D'Lo has been iffy. He's not been Derek White.
Can confirm. He's not Derek White.
He's trying to be Derek White. We'll give him.
Is he?
I don't know. He thinks he's trying to be Derek White.
He thinks he's trying. He'll tell you that he's trying to be Derek White.
This team, remember the Patrick Beverley meme last year where he was like, "Well, we shot 20% last game. We shot 23 this game, so we're improving." That reminds me of this year right now. Right now, they're dead last in the NBA in 3-point attempts, and they're second last in percentage. This team can't shoot right now.
Do you think that'll be the case forever?
No.
Or not forever, but
no, that's kind of another reason why I think it will go up. Obviously, they're missing Jared Vanderbilt, who like isn't going to shoot threes, so that is going to, not help your cause at all.
Second best defender on the team, though.
Exactly, and I think that will help a lot because that's what the Lakers have hung their hat on the last several years is their team defense, surrounded by Anthony Davis. But I think with LeBron, like at this point in his career, and it's kind of been like this way the last several years. Like LeBron we don't need him shooting a lot of threes, man. Like we need him shooting less than like 4 a game. He has games where he'll go off, but at the end of the day, you want him driving to the hoop and kicking out to guys, and we need those guys to start knocking down shots. So I still do have the Lakers in the should still be playoff team tier for sure, but I don't have them on knocking on contender door. I have them below that tier.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, they haven't played like a contender up to this point. This is just a bet on
Denver.
Like, when it gets down to it, Anthony Davis and LeBron are going to run pick and roll at the end of the game. They'll probably generate pretty good shots.
Still a phenomenal duo.
I believe in them to get stops when it matters, I think. But
hey, and Gabe Vincent, playoff performer.
I don't think they're fucking with Denver, but I don't know if anybody's fucking with Denver.
And that's kind of why I don't have any West teams up top there. Not because they're not good. It's because the West is just who's stopping them.
Yeah. Yeah, agree.
Okay, so is that it for your contender tier?
No.
Okay.
Not quite. Well, I also have the Bucks, who we've already talked about, and the Sixers, who we've already talked about. This is the toughest one. I threw the Heat here.
Oh, really? Okay.
This is very much so just like last year, and it's only been 10 games. So I'm just going to go with the fact that they made the
I know, dude.
Finals.
I was so hard with the Heat. I will say, dude, I have so many Eastern Conference teams in like this before the play-in tier, basically. I have like 8 or 9 of them, and it's like that literally is impossible.
I didn't think about it mathematically.
I didn't either.
For what it's worth.
I just checked it to see what it was looking like.
Very vibes based.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the Heat, Bam, dude. Bam has been so nice so far this year.
That was going to be my first point as well.
Yeah, I mean, he has looked. I think, did you pick him to win Depoy? Or we didn't do the awards thing, right?
Yeah, we did.
I picked him to win
Not on
Depoy.
here, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think I picked him to win
I picked him to win Depoy as well, and he's not the Depoy right now, but like he's been great defensively, which he always is. But offensively, man, he's been that aggressive Bam that everyone's been like talking about, because he kind of has the AD offensive thing sometimes, where he'll just have 31 game, 12 the next, and it's like we need him to be aggressive. And I think he has been so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's a different offensive player from AD, I think.
Well, yeah. Just from a consistency standpoint.
Right, correct. And that much is true. He's a career high in points per game and free throw attempts right now, and I think that it's glaring when you watch. He's at 24, 11, and 6. He's still the hub that you want him to be and leading the team in scoring now. The last few games in particular, I think it's really popped. He's been unbelievable. Don't care. Yeah, right. Jimmy does not care yet. Bam, starting to wear a headband. I'm rocking with that. Yep. Looks good. He's He's all NBA right now. I think pretty clearly.
Yeah.
I think watching him has been a lot of fun. Last night in San Antonio, I watched that whole game, and he was awesome. He was just unbelievably good. Maybe not that whole game. I don't think I watched the first quarter. I turned to that game after the Sixers game ended. But yeah, I think he's really good, and I think like Hero's been quite good. He's been back to his normal self after the injury last season. I think that he provides a much needed offensive punch, particularly when Jimmy's not carrying. But you know, their defense is still quite good despite Jimmy not carrying much because they have Bam, and Jimmy is. I don't care what he does right now. I guess is where I'm at, because it's like I'll be watching the Heat, and I'll watch Jimmy run a pick and roll or whatever, and I'll be like, in 4 months he's shooting a pull up right there. But for now he just swung it to Kyle Lowry. So there's only so much you can really take from early season Heat. Duncan Robinson's been very involved, and I think he's not really like shooting the lights out yet or anything, but I think like the process has been pretty good
for his volume too.
Yeah,
I feel what's he 36% or something.
Yeah,
like, you'll
so
take that.
I feel fine about everything right now.
I think like obviously Kyle Lowry has been shooting the ball well. Tyler Hero has shot the ball well. I think their role guys have been solid. And
Haywood Highsmith defensively has been a fun watch.
Love Haywood Highsmith. Jimmy obviously like has been in and out of the lineup. He's the only guy I've seen so far that is like when he's out it just says rest. Like he's just resting. Which I think isn't that illegal? Like I forget how that works nowadays.
It's something about
like is it the nationally televised games?
Yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah.
I think it's
and obviously like you can't be it's the 3 time have been an all-star in the last 3 years or whatever. The Heat don't really like Jimmy don't care.
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think many people do. I mean obviously like if it becomes a recurring thing then it makes sense, but the NBA just doesn't want to lose out on money.
Correct.
Pop quiz for you, because the Miami Heat seem like the team that's gonna like they just seem like the in-season tournament team. Like it just seems like they're.
Or do they not care at all about it?
That's true.
Did they win their in-season tournament game?
They did.
I don't remember. Okay.
My pop quiz is who is the number 1 ranked team in the in-season tournament standing so far, because it's off of point differential. So it's like you have to win, but also it's point. So that's why, like, remember when Joel Embiid shot that 3 at the end of the Pistons game?
Yeah.
That's why. Because he wanted to get
people were mad about that on Twitter.
I was mad actually at first. Like I was mad because also we just blew the game.
Yes.
And then I saw him doing that and he wanted it reviewed and I was like, bro, shut up. Like
I don't think I noticed that he wanted it reviewed. That's hilarious.
He like was trying to like he was actually pissed that they didn't review it.
That's funny.
Which but then I remembered like, oh, like okay, it kind of actually
point. Yeah,
like I'm happy that he actually cares, I guess, about that part of it,
Fair. Yeah. I think that's a healthy dynamic with it.
It's the Celtics though.
Okay.
It's no
that makes sense.
It wasn't that
That makes
cool.
sense. Yeah, because they didn't lose to
14-point differential is the highest right now. There's only
some teams have only played one in-season tournament game. Some teams have played 2.
Only
right?
one team has played 2, or 2 teams. The Grizzlies and Thunder, the only 2 teams that have played 2 in-season tournament games so far.
We got our second one tomorrow.
But that will change a lot. Oh, and the Wizards. It will change a lot tomorrow. Yeah, because it's all ends in November, right? Like that's when the regular season ones end.
November, December, one or two.
Yeah. So
towards the end of this year,
it's got to be. A lot of teams probably play tomorrow. So yeah, for me though, what team are we on? The Heat? Oh yeah, I have the Heat in the should finish top 6, make it out of the play-in tier.
I don't even know. Well, I don't even know if that's true. But they are contenders.
Make it out of the play-in.
Yes, they should win the play-in.
Like they will be in the playoffs. I'd be shocked if they weren't.
Almost lost in the play-in.
That's kind of how I. Yeah, they did. Once again, DeMar DeRozan's daughter, man, she could have impacted
changed
NBA
everything.
history.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a team we have yet to mention yet that is on my knocking on contender door tier.
Okay.
I'm not incredibly confident in this team going forward, but based off what we've seen, I feel like I have to respect them by putting them in this knocking on contender door tier. It is the Dallas Mavericks.
Ooh.
So in that tier, I had the Timberwolves, Mavericks, and Warriors. So those were the 3 Western Conference teams, and I feel like they're not quite contenders, but they're knocking on the door.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the reason, like, obviously the Mavericks are, 8-2, I think? Yeah, they're 8-2, second best record in the West. Some crazy stats, though, with offensive compared to defense for the Dallas Mavericks so far this year. They're second in offense, 24th in defense, which, if we're being honest, I don't think that is going to change very much.
23rd in defense.
23rd in defense, sure. I might have wrote it down wrong.
Give them more respect.
So that's true. But I don't think that's going to change very much. Like, they will probably finish as a top 5 offense and probably finish as a bottom 7-ish defense. Yeah. Like, it's going to happen. The thing that I'm worried about, they're first in 3-point makes, attempts, and percentage right now. Now, that is something that could not last. When you have Grant Williams knocking down 50% of the threes. Tim Hardaway Jr. is knocking down the threes. So, like, I can't overreact and say that this team is, like, going to be crazy because, you know, they're just hitting shots. When you hit shots, you win games. But at the same time, they've won games. They're 8-2, and I think that when you have Luka Doncic, you are still knocking on that contender door. The defense, though, is just... I mean, Derek Jones Jr. started every game for them this year. That was something I didn't expect. Derek Lively, I think, has done a pretty good job as a rookie. But I'm not incredibly confident in this team, but I still think I have to show them the respect based on what they've done so far.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said as far as not being particularly confident, but respecting what they've done. You mentioned, like, the 3-point thing might not last. What else might not? They're 6-0 in, like, clutch games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that definitely won't last.
Yeah. But also, like, Luka's just taking them all over.
Dude, yeah, he is.
He's been unbelievable.
He really has.
He's been my favorite watch up to this point in the league, probably. I think part of it is the fact that they've been in a lot of clutch games, I guess. But, yeah he's just taking over the end of games. And 33, 8-8 right now, which is pretty dope. He's firmly in the MVP conversation.
For sure.
Obviously, you know, Kyrie is the other guy who's played, you know, pretty well. I don't know. I don't think he's been Kyrie, basically, you know, 23 a game, very efficient, etc. It's kind of what you expect from him, but the role guys probably have played a little bit better than you can expect from them going forward, I think. Outside of Lively, maybe, because Lively's going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that defensively in particular, Lively is probably going to see, the more reps he gets, the better he'll get, I think, on that end, and he's got a fun connection with Luka already. I hope that he's just starting every game.
Yeah,
basically is what I want.
He basically has since that first game when they started Maxi Kleba.
Yeah, and Kleba hasn't started since, but Kleba also got hurt, I think.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Derek Jones Jr. starting every game. I don't know how long that's going to last because teams don't guard him at all, but he's shooting it fine right now, and maybe he'll just continue to shoot it fine.
Defensive guy.
Yeah, he does help that he's better than the other guys defensively, I guess, outside of Grant, and. Josh Green hasn't played particularly well, I don't think, when I've watched. I guess I could check.
I think he's shooting the ball like solidly.
He is. Okay, yeah. He's about 40% from 3, to be fair. But just when I've watched, I guess.
Right.
But it's not like I watched every game either. So he's only 8 points per game. Maybe that's part of it. Is that I don't know, like the drives, the aggressiveness hasn't been quite.
And he's not
there.
The big wing that you necessarily want to be.
He's
your
like
defender.
6'5", 6'6". Yeah, but he's been fine defensively throughout his career. Don't think it's been particularly spectacular this season. And I was hoping for a leap from him. Is why I mentioned all of that. But I think they've been fun to watch. I don't know if 8-2 will last. Not sure you can really win a title with the defense that they have. I honestly don't think you can win a title.
I don't think so either.
I don't really think you win a title with this defense. That's why they're not like real championship.
So where did you have them at in your
the next tier, which was just like playoff team, basically, or like tough playoff team.
I think that everything you said. Like their offense is going to be great. Luka has been that dude, but defensively, it's going to be like this team will make a trade. This team will make a trade during the season. I would assume. I guess
could be,
but we'll see.
I thought if the Timberwolves thing didn't work, they could like try and figure out a way to get Gobert.
Ooh, I remember hearing rumors about that.
Because then he just kind of like puts your defense. I won't say fixes the whole thing, but he gets it to a certain level. I
just felt like after last season, the Timberwolves, they can't trade Gobert until a few years because of what you gave up.
Yes, and the contract is so big that like, it's hard to sell.
You're not going to get assets at all. Yeah,
I didn't go deep into that thinking like it's not like I had a bunch of trade packages drummed up.
Right,
I just thought in my head,
cool.
Like, maybe there's a way for that to happen.
Maybe Derek Lively's the next Gobert. Who knows?
Maybe.
Okay, so is everyone outside of or like before the just playoff team tier like gone here, or do you still have any contenders?
No, everybody's gone.
Okay.
The rest of the teams are just tough playoff teams.
So we're into like the playoff team tier.
Yeah, but like as I look at it, I'm like these two, like there's a couple teams here where it's like they should probably be a tier apart, or like one or two teams should be a tier above.
Well, you can add a tier here. This is a work in progress.
It is a work in fair.
I added a tier. I made my contenders tier into two separate things. I thought that was a good idea. So I'm flipping everything so far as we go.
Well, then I'll throw a tier above this tier, the tier that we're in right now that I have the Mavericks in. I'll throw a tier above, be like, might be contenders, but less confident than the ones above them.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
And it's basically mostly for the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
Because there obviously is a level that they can get to offensively that most teams cannot access with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, who we haven't really all seen play together, which is unfortunate because, I mean, Beal was dealing with some injuries and Booker's been in and out of the lineup as well. Shout out to Kevin Durant for being pretty consistently in the lineup despite being the oldest guy. That's been nice to see, but... I don't think their defense. I'm just not a big believer in their defense right now. I will say defensively, Nurkic has probably been better than I expected him to be. Offensively, he is horrific.
Yeah.
He's absolutely abominable around the rim.
You talked about Drew Eubanks is
I do think
better.
I think Eubanks is better.
I think it's been pretty obvious so far this year too.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought that it was pretty obvious last year, but the Blazers kept starting Nurkic. Keita Bates-Diop has gotten himself into the rotation. That's a guy that I wanted the Pistons to sign, and now he's playing pretty well for the Suns. So shout out to him. Provides some defensive relief for the other guys, I think, and he, hopefully will be able to knock down shots and move the ball, etc. But yeah, this team probably doesn't quite have it defensively to me, but that's not to say that they haven't been okay defensively yet. I just think come playoff time, I don't quite buy the roster, I think, on that end of the floor. Now, could they just shot make their way into 3 rounds, past 3 rounds to beat everybody? Maybe, I guess. I don't know. I don't feel great believing in that, betting on that at all. They're 4-6 right now. Yeah, I don't know. They just, I don't know. They haven't really popped for me.
So I've added a tier as well, and I've added the Suns into this tier because I think they do fall into the same tier as the Lakers. Okay. I've added a tier between the playoff team tier and the knocking on contender door, and it's might be contenders, might lose in the play-in. That's kind of where I'm at.
I like that.
And it's Phoenix and LA, and that's it.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Phoenix. It's just kind of hard because Booker's played 2 games, Beal's played 3 games, which Booker in the 2 games looked really good. Yes. Beal in the 3 games, not so much. He looks like his back is still really bothering him.
I don't think he's ready. If this is him ready,
I was really surprised when he played the other night. Like when they said he was back,
I was like, healthy.
Like that video of him at practice was terrible. Like that, and even in the games, like he just looks like he is injured. Like it looks like he's not comfortable out there. But yeah, so it's kind of hard to judge. KD has been phenomenal. So that obviously is a huge part. KD has looked so good. I think Grayson Allen has been pretty good for them. But outside of that, the other role guys have just been hit or miss. You don't really know what you're getting.
I like Watanabe.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just kind of who's gonna be the guy that steps up defensively and offensively on any given night. It's kind of a question mark right now with the rest of the guys. So it's not Bol Bol? I can't. It's not Bol Bol. I will say that. It's not the better Wemby.
Better Wemby.
It's not Wemby before Wemby. But it's hard for me to also just be completely out on this Phoenix Suns team because guess what? Booker and Beal haven't played, so we'll see what continues here. So that's why they're in this. Might be contenders, might be in the play-in.
No, I'm new to basketball, Kyle.
Okay.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure, yeah. What do you want to know?
Why does the other Wemby average as many turnovers as points?
Oh, because he doesn't get the opportunity that he deserves.
Why not?
Because they don't play him. He doesn't get the ball.
But if he's the other Wemby, he's probably pretty good. Why would they play him?
It's because he wasn't the first overall pick.
Why wasn't he the first overall pick if he's the other Wemby?
Because people hate on him.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
That sucks. Is there any particular reason why people hate him?
I mean, maybe because he had bad injury history, and also he's not a good defender, and he's really he doesn't move quite nearly as good as Wemby, and he doesn't quite block shots like Wemby and have the defensive presence of him, and he's way lighter than Wemby is too. But just a few. Those are just.
So now I have another question.
Okay. Is this guy any
Why
good?
is he the other Wemby?
He's not actually. He's not actually the Wemby.
Question.
Shaq said so.
Shaq was pretty good at basketball. Why would he not?
Yeah.
People keep telling me he's the other Wemby.
We had this conversation on the radio the other day. If you did not tune in,
he's not good.
The Bol Bol Wembanyama, and I'm not a hater because when the Pistons tried to trade,
I'm not a hater. I wanted Bol Bol. I wanted us to draft Bol Bol.
When we couldn't,
I rooted for Bol Bol.
When we couldn't get Bol Bol in that trade, I was sad. I was so sad.
I was sad. I was like, oh god, this would have made the team because the team was so boring.
It would have been so fun.
Exactly. I was like,
I would have loved Bol Bol.
Yeah.
And I'm not hating. But Wemby is so much better than Bol Bol.
Yeah, I mean, Bol Bol maybe is the worst defender in the league. I'm not a hater on. I was never a hater of Wemby. Not Wemby. Definitely not a hater of Wemby. I was never a hater of Bol Bol. I really liked Bol Bol and was rooting for Bol Bol because I think in theory he is an awesome a fun player.
Yeah.
Because he does he does handle the ball really well for somebody who's that tall. That's true, and he does shoot a lot of threes, which is pretty cool. But outside, he's just not very good, And you can look up my Twitter, Griff 1-on-1, and put in Bol, and I bet that it's going to be a lot of positive things. But
right.
Can we stop acting like he's
Here's a question,
and
I don't know the answer to this. It just popped in my head. This might be an overreaction.
Okay.
Wembanyama is closer to Jokic than Bol Bol is to Wembanyama.
Okay. Yes, I'd probably agree because I think, very simply put, Jokic is at the top of basketball or NBA, top of the NBA, right?
Top
at the
of basketball.
tippity top of basketball.
Yeah.
But just for that, because I was going to say, Bol Bol's at the bottom of the NBA, probably, right?
Oh, right.
Like he's on the end of the bench for every team in the league at this point. So he is towards the bottom of the NBA, in the bottom, I'll say 30 players in the league, probably. Wemby is above average. So he's closer to Jokic.
Right.
Is just how I would think about it.
Yeah. But Jokic also is so good that, like, is there a bigger gap because of how good he is, you know?
You could make that case, but I would say, I don't know. I wouldn't look at it that way, probably.
Yeah. I agree.
think that's hard. That'd be hard to quantify.
Okay, so now that I have separated my might-be contenders, might lose in the play-in team, I'm now entering the should finish as a Final 8 playoff team tier.
Okay.
And teams...
Wait. Can I hypothesize another team in that tier of could be
Sure,
losing
maybe
in
you
the
can
play-in?
convince me to throw one in there.
The Pelicans?
See, the Pelicans aren't in my Final 8 playoff team tier.
That's fair.
I got the Pelicans I got the Pelicans just in the play because I don't know if they're contenders. That's why. Because that tier is might be contenders, might lose in the play-in. I don't think that the Pelicans are might be contenders even right now.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right. I would agree with you there.
Right.
I think
it's up for argument.
I'll say just disappointed in Ingram and Zion up to this point this season, I think. Defensively in particular, I think that both have been pretty below average, below expectation even, and my expectation for them guys defensively is not particularly high at all. It doesn't feel like they're playing with the tempo that you'd hope they will. It feels like both of them are sort of lagging around out there a little bit. They don't really know how to play together. They don't do a ton of two-man actions between the two. I'm not sure that Zion feels like has figured out the blend of inserting himself into the game and also not overstepping or something like that. It feels like he's trying to pick his spots correctly instead of sort of playing freely. And that sucks because both of those guys are really talented, and obviously Zion in particular is one of the best talents we've really seen in a long time. He's not I don't know. It just hasn't really quite been put together for him. You'll see the stretches where he's just dominant physically because he is dominant physically. He's really unlike anything else, but it doesn't feel like he's really got it all put together as much as I thought that he did. It feels like he's a little bit late to reads. He's definitely late to rotations. It feels like he's not passing the ball quite as well as I thought that he might. He's not, offensive rebounding hasn't quite popped the way that I hoped it would, I feel like, just from what I've watched. And again, I haven't watched every game. And with Ingram, it's Ingram's a tough player because
I do love Ingram.
I love Ingram in theory. I just wish that I wish he would shoot more threes and less mid-range jumpers. Yeah,
right.
I see him pass up threes for mid-range jumpers pretty often, and it's tough to win that. You're just losing the math battle at that point throughout a season.
For a Pelicans team that already doesn't shoot an incredible amount of threes.
Yeah, and I guess that'd be my next point of positivity with the Pelicans. Jordan Hawkins is letting it fly.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much. Most three-point attempts and three-point makes through the first 9 games in NBA history.
Really?
Jordan Hawkins.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wrote him down because obviously he had that big game the other night too, 30-something points, but I did not know that stat. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's shooting them, man. And I think that it's cool because I think that I wasn't
they kind of
positive.
need a guy like that.
Exactly, yeah. And
Trey
he's a
Murphy
movement
being
shooter.
out, that's
exactly
a need.
And before the season, I was I'm not sure what Jordan Hawkins' sort of outlook is going to be this season, just as far as how much he's going to play. And yeah, he's gotten the opportunity, and I think that he's doing his best to make the most of it.
Yeah.
And while Ingram and Zion sort of disappoint to a degree, the young guys, I think particularly him and Dyson Daniels to a degree, although obviously putting the ball in the basket is not what he's able to do, but defensively, and Herb Jones has been spectacular in my opinion. I think Herb Jones has been as good defensively as anybody in the league, and he's always been an unbelievable defender, but it feels like he's even more impactful this season. He's creating more havoc this season than he ever has, and he set a high bar for himself, and he's clearing it. So shout out to Herb Jones, big shout out to Herb Jones.
I think it's all just the Pelicans. It really just relies on BI and Zion. They've just been it's been inconsistent so far.
Do you
with
think
them
that they can get it together though?
Yeah, I think so. I think they definitely can. I think if I made this tier ranking the exact same one in 2 weeks, they could be in that playoff team tier and maybe even in the knocking on contender door tier. It's a chance. But they're a bottom 3 offense right now and a bottom 10 defense.
Yeah.
And when CJ McCollum is out, with his collapsed lung.
And he was playing pretty good. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, very unfortunate, another injury, and hopefully he can recover from. But that's a huge miss right now, and you just really expect guys like Ingram, especially Ingram, to step up in that guard playmaking role while also still taking on a load scoring-wise. Hasn't really happened. So,
yeah.
And Zion has just been, I'm happy he's healthy. He's played in every game. I think he missed the Pistons game, actually. I'm pretty sure that's the only game he missed. But other than that, like, I don't know. When I see Zion play, I just expect him to get an easy 30. I don't know. Yeah. That might just be me, because he just makes it look so easy.
Right.
But he's just kind of been a little iffy so far.
Yeah. I don't disagree at all, and like neither Zion nor Ingram have shown any consistency this season. They're not putting games together. Like they're not putting stretches together. Yeah, they might have one game where Ingram shoots well or Zion, plays well and gets 27 or 28 or something. But like you mentioned, I think that we were all expecting, this guy's going to come in and be immediately like one of the most explosive scorers in the league, and it just hasn't quite been that up to this point, and it doesn't feel like there's been enough stretches or flashes of it quite yet. Maybe this is unfair. Maybe this is me being young and dumb basketball fan, but it does feel like there's a chance for Zion to just sort of have like a come to Jesus moment. Just like, hey, I just need to fucking go to the rim.
Yeah.
Time. That's just what I got.
Let me just go. I agree with that.
I don't know why I feel like one day in the locker room after a game, he's just going to fucking throw his water bottle and it's just going to click. But it probably doesn't work that way as much as I want to believe it does. But there's a glimmer of hope in my head for that to happen.
So I'm adding another tier. I'm doing it.
Okay.
So I have my playoff team tier.
Yeah.
Playoff teams tier, and there's just a lot of teams in that, and then there's a lot of teams that are also in the play-in tier that I feel like I'm disrespecting by not having them in the playoff tier.
Yeah.
So I'm adding a tier in between the two.
Okay.
And I'll get to it after I get through my playoff tier, and I'm making it fun. But do I think it will last?
Okay.
That's what I'm.
I know who this is.
That's what I'm doing. But let's get through the playoff tier because there's the only team that's been mentioned in my playoff teams tier right now is the Miami Heat.
Okay.
And there's a few other teams in it. So let me start off with a team that I was incredibly high on coming into the season. The New York Knicks. I still think the New York Knicks are a playoff team. Yeah. Like I said, I have the Pelicans in my play-in tournament tier right now, and I think I'm going to keep them there. But yeah, the Knicks, they're the second best defense in the entire NBA. Julius Randle has been god-awful. Guess who's been pretty good, though? RJ Barrett.
I was just going to say.
Exactly.
There's two guys that I really want to highlight from this team, and neither of them are like who we thought were the top two players, I'd say.
Who is that? Who's your second?
RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson.
Oh, dude, I wrote down Mitchell Robinson as well.
No, but what were you going to say about that?
Their defense has just been really good. That's kind of why I wanted to highlight Mitchell Robinson, because he has just been phenomenal protecting the rim so far.
Like defensive player of the year almost.
Yeah, for real.
Honestly.
And then this is something that I continuously brought up throughout the preseason, but like this team just has so many good role players that like they just defensively, like even if their offensive game is not doing incredibly great, like they are defensively. Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, Quickly has been pretty solid this year, and I don't even know if you count him as a role player, honestly. But yeah, like the Knicks, they're 15th in offense, which I think is a good spot to be at. This is not a team that's ever going to be a top 5 offense. Like it's Jalen Brunson controlling everything.
They were top 5 offense last year.
They were top 5 last year?
Yeah, they were like third.
Oh, I actually did not know that. But I just don't know. I feel like 15th isn't a bad thing, I guess, especially for the way that Randall has played so far. They're top 10 in 3-point makes and attempts, which was something that we saw last year too. I just think that like Brunson, I hope Brunson makes the All-Star game last year because he kind of was snubbed, or I hope he makes it this year because he kind of was snubbed last year. He's been off to a bit of an iffy start. He had that huge game, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just assume Randall's going to get a little bit better. But he is following the trend, though.
Yes, he is.
The All-Star one year,
suck
bad the next year, All-Star, and this is where it's the bad again.
This is where he sucks bad, and it's unfortunate. You just got to punt this one.
Yeah, exactly.
They are an interesting team. Now, RJ Barrett leading them in points and having career highs and pretty much everything is really exciting for them because I think that he was, a tough one to sort of tough nut to crack in evaluation because I'll say like just to break it down a little bit, like he doesn't really have any touch at the rim, I feel like, and he's very strong and he gets downhill and the shooting is really streaky. But right now the shooting looks like it's being put together. And I've seen a guy on Twitter that I follow. God, I wish I remembered his actual name, but I know that it's something to do with Prez, like because he refers to himself as Prez.
Okay,
but he's a Knicks writer mostly,
like the 2K
for
Prez?
the Strickland P-R-E-Z.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
so I guess like 2K Prez. But he's a Knicks writer for the Strickland, and he did a lot of like breakdowns on his mechanics and how he felt like just watching preseason. He thought that it's going to be RJ's best shooting year because of his mechanics, and it looks like he was right. So shout out to him.
That's nice
because he got it right. And so, but he's been very much so highlighting the fact that Barrett's playing well. So shout out to him, and I've enjoyed seeing that. And Mitchell Robinson just defensively, oh my God, at the rim, he's an absolute monster. The length and everything, and it's not like he blocks a ton of shots, but he just is always in the way. Yeah. Just always in the way.
And Hartenstein is pretty good too, dude.
Hartenstein's great. I think Hartenstein's maybe the best backup big in the league off the top of my head. And Robinson's
Marvin Bagley disrespect.
That is it, I guess.
No, I'm joking.
Well, I do think he's better than Bagley. But yeah, Hart and quickly, and it feels like Grimes is playing as confident as ever. I would say it's not like he's really like shooting the lights out or anything from percentage perspective, but it feels like there's no second guessing when he gets the ball and he's got a good look. He's letting it fly, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm not sure about this team either. I do think that they're going to make the playoffs. I wouldn't consider them contenders quite. I don't think that despite having maybe the best bench in the league, or at least as many bench players as you could rely upon. I don't think that their stars are as good as other team stars. Or
definitely
even close,
not.
really.
Yeah. That's why I still like the Knicks. I think they are their ceiling though is like sneaking in the conference finals. And that's
I think
that's
they
the all-time
they could
high.
win around. Similar to last year, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, the Knicks were my first team in the playoff team. I did add 2 teams into the fun, but am I confident last year? And I'll get to those later. Another team though, another Eastern Conference team, the Cleveland Cavaliers are in my playoff team tier. Another team that's just been kind of hard to judge so far because Darius Garland missed a good amount of time to start the year. Jarrett Allen missed a good amount of time to start the year. So it's been difficult to kind of adjust to this team so far. They're 4-5 right now. A big thing that we kind of talked about coming into the year, at least that was talked about by just NBA fans in general, was can Mobley offensive game, improve? And obviously the 3-ball really has not. It's been non-existent basically for Mobley so far. I think Okoro has looked pretty good.
He got hurt,
has been. Yeah, he did. Strus has been kind of hit or miss. But that's kind of how he is. He just has his games where he knocks down a lot of shots. Has his game where he doesn't. But I still think the Cavs are going to be they're still going to be fine. They're going to be a good defense. They were first in the league last year. They're 11th right now. Not good offensively, 25th offensively, but when you haven't had Darius Garland, it's kind of hard to adjust to that. So it's hard to judge the Cavs.
Yeah. And when Garland has played, he hasn't been great. Right. I don't think. At least he hasn't been to the level that I expect from him. I will say, as the games go on and as you watch, I do continue to appreciate Donovan Mitchell. I think that he's a tad bit underrated. He's just so good and has been so good for a decent amount of time now. I think
he's so good in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's very good in the playoff. He's had a lot of incredible series. He's had a couple rough ones also, but generally pretty good in the playoffs. A guy that you can rely on, high volume shooter, and he's going to be efficient. He's going to make at a decent level. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if he gets enough love, but this roster is interesting to me still. I was hoping that this year we'd get some more clarity on it. Doesn't feel like we quite have. I've enjoyed some of what LeVert is doing. I think LeVert's playing better defensively than he ever has. Right. I will say, but I don't know. Offensively, he's still just Karis LeVert going to try and get his buckets and not do a ton of other stuff. Or not worry about a ton of other stuff. Do you think that this is just the 4? Do you think that this is the core 4? Allen, Mobley, Garland, Mitchell?
Going forward?
Yeah. I'm starting to feel like there's a ceiling on these two, not only both as a backcourt, but also as a frontcourt.
Right.
Honestly.
I don't know what it's just the problem is what do you do if it's not? What is the solution if you kind of come to that realization wow, we're never going to insert ourselves into the Boston and Milwaukee category over the next X amount of years.
Right.
Because do you give up on Allen? Do you give up on Garland?
Both, maybe.
And Mitchell, obviously, he has his own situation going on with the contract situation.
And it's sort of rumblings, to say the least,
about him
going to the Knicks.
For the most part, Mobley and Mitchell, I would say, are your locks to stay. You would love to keep Mitchell, obviously.
Yes, correct. If you can, those are the top 2 that you want to keep.
Garland just seems he seems like too good of an asset to just not
throw
keep.
Away.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think he doesn't fit right.
But also, Allen is on such a cheap contract. That's just so valuable to have. Maybe you want to move him before you have to pay him, though.
Right. But what's the alternative to Allen if it's not him? what is the better alternative to Allen?
Like you move Mobley down and then just get a big 4?
But okay, give me an example of a 4 then.
Okay, like the guy. You want to know what's funny? I think the guy would be Lauri Markkanen, but
that's too.
It just doesn't make sense.
He makes sense for everybody.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like he's an all-star.
Like you want to that's what I said. Like but like a realistic example.
Yeah, an Allen level player maybe.
Like, God, I don't even know. Like, what if you went and got Naz Reid? And played
That'd
him
be pretty
Mobley.
sick, I guess. Yeah.
Like, can your defense still be? Can your defense still be good?
Yeah, I think it can be good with Mobley
and
captaining it. Yeah, but you'd have to move off Garland probably.
Because I'm just trying to think of a.
I don't think your defense would be good in that situation if you still had the 2 like tiny guards.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I'm at is like I think that in the playoffs having 2 tiny guards is probably a bridge.
And we saw Jalen Brunson just kill him, and then obviously we saw Mitchell Robinson kill the bigs.
Yes, exactly. And like I think that it becomes tough because Mobley is awesome, and I think he had a shot to win Defensive Player of the Year last year, like a real legitimate case. And I think that what he does on that end of the floor is really special for his age. Offensively, like there's a lot to like for sure. The thing that I worry about is if he's your 5, rebounding is going to be a problem, probably, oftentimes. And not just, like, obviously it's a problem right now against Mitchell Robinson, but not just Mitchell Robinson. I think that there's even more bigs that could rear its head on. So he'd have to get stronger. Also, offensively, though, I think that you got to – what I've been learning or what I've been cultivating that maybe I never thought about 3-4 years ago, you got to be able to screen. You got to have a guy that can set a good screen to free up your guards. I think last year watching Jakob Poeltl sort of like just help Fred VanVleet so much when he got traded to Toronto, I was like, oh, well, yeah, now he has a guy that actually makes contact on screens. Mobley doesn't really make contact on screens. Mobley's just not a good screener. He's so thin and everything. Like I don't know that he'll ever really quite be very good at that skill. Obviously, he could develop it, but it feels like that's something that's a little bit more natural generally. And I'm not quite sure that he's ever going to be at the level that's good enough to be like an awesome center for to have a really dynamic guard like play his best ball off of. And so I worry about like finding a fit that makes sense on both ends of the floor for Mobley. Because because what he's so special at, you do have to build around him to a degree. And it feels like going forward, this thing's going to end up with Mobley at the 5. I just think it's important to find the right guy.
Exactly, because you can't, like you just mentioned, like it's hard to. You still need a guy that can rebound well because Mobley. I mean, he gets rebounds, but like he just gets dominated. He could get dominated.
He can get overpowered.
Exactly.
It happens,
yes.
You know.
And the screening, like, so you would want to bring in a 4 that also can
do some of that
stuff. But then you're just like, well, why don't we just keep Jared Allen?
Maybe Cat.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a world where something like that happened, but like that's again just like the most idealized version possible.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, could Garland get you Cat in some sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think Minnesota would be down for that, right?
Maybe, yeah. But then, you still got Allen.
But also, trades like that just don't happen either.
Right.
Like,
that's just the most idealized thing.
Like the Halliburton Sabonis trade was like the only one of those kind of trades that we've had. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Just like 2 studs get traded for each other. Like that just don't really be happening.
Russ and CP3.
Yeah, but like at that time though, people thought Chris Paul was washed.
Yes, right. And like the other, and then on the other side, like Garland's an awesome offensive player, hasn't quite been this season, but generally, Garland's a great offensive player. Yeah. He's an incredible playmaker, can really shoot it, et cetera, et cetera. He just like defensively, there's limitations when you have 2 guards like 6'3" and under. Mm-hmm. Right. I think that as much as we love them offensively, I think that like they're a little bit redundant, him and Mitchell, to some degree. Not that they can't play together, because clearly they can. But I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze on the other end, I guess.
I like that analogy there. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But I still think this is like they're good. Like they're a good team still.
They are good. They're absolutely good. But I'm saying to get to like Boston.
They're not on contenders. Yes. They're outside looking in for sure. So I have 2 teams left in my playoff teams tier, but why don't you throw out a team here? Because I've done the last couple ones.
In the playoff tier?
In the playoffs tier.
I think I just have one left.
Say our tiers are kind of thrown off, but that's all right. Yeah. We're just talking about teams.
How about the Thunder? I think the Thunder are playoff.
The Thunder are in my playoff tier team. I think that because like I said, I added the fun but will it last tier, and that usually just goes to young teams that look pretty good.
I think the Thunder will last.
I think the Thunder will last too. I have the Thunder in the top 8. Like I think that they're different than those teams. And a lot of it has to do with their standout rookie, Chet Holmgren. Like he has just been that dude. I don't know if this has changed, but I saw the stat on Twitter the other day that Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, and Asar Thompson are second, third, and fourth in total blocks in the NBA awesome. This year, which is just super cool. But yeah, I mean, Shea is just incredible too. Like when those other fun young teams don't quite have the superstar of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I think that is what totally separates them. They have a pretty good bench. Your guy Micic has not really played at all this year, which is unfair.
They're not respecting my guys.
Vazenkov don't play either. It's really messed up.
Poku doesn't play anymore.
But they still have obviously great role guys. Jalen Williams has looked so good this year. I mean his strength that he put on this offseason.
It's noticeable.
It's noticeable from just looking at him standpoint.
Yeah, he's jacked.
Just from what he does on the court too. He's hard to move.
Right. He's an oddly jacked guy with a 7'3" wingspan.
It looks kind of weird.
Enormous arms,
Yeah.
But I think that it really starts with Shea and Chet, who Chet got a shot for this Rookie of the Year. I'll say that much.
Sure.
I think defensively he's pretty unbelievable, and offensively he's probably a little bit better than Wemby right now. He's shooting 50% from three. That probably won't last. But he is an awesome shooter for a 7'1" guy or 7'2" guy. And I think that the way that he can put the ball on the floor is just absolutely almost unbelievable, honestly, from his size. He can put the ball on the floor and beat closeouts and things of that nature. And I think that stuff has really popped. He's at 16 a game right now. I think that'll only honestly go up. I think that he is that good to be a 16-10 game a guy as a rookie, an efficient one, and he's good at defense. That is not normal at all. And having him back has sort of changed. Him being this good this quickly, I think, changes the perception of this team in the present to me. And I always loved Chet as a prospect, but to think he was this fast is pretty crazy. Every time I watch him, I'm just like, there's never been a more clear future All-Star.
Yeah.
There's never been a more obvious evaluation.
This guy's in deep boy talks.
Yeah, this dude is very good. And you mentioned Shea, who's at about 29, 6, and 7 right now, which you could probably expect for him for the next almost decade. And I feel like the point, from a scoring perspective, it could even be higher. I feel like
we averaged 33 last year or something.
Yeah,
32.
I think he was 32.
Yeah.
And this year, very honestly, doesn't feel like he's getting the calls that he got last year.
Right.
To put it very simply, and that's not that it's not like don't get me wrong, last year he definitely sold calls to a degree, and but also you do just follow him a lot because he gets to the rim anytime that he wants to, and he has these extremely long arms that he puts out like that, and you're just probably going to hit him. When you're trying to get to the ball, you're probably going to hit his wrist.
So fun to watch.
Yeah, he's so good around the rim, and he's never sped up or anything, and he plays at such an elite pace, and he's got the step back mid-range jumper. He's got the pull-up mid-range jumper. The threes have not been falling yet, but I do believe that they probably will at some point. So I wouldn't be surprised if that points per game got above 30 relatively quickly. So, yeah, I think that this team's probably going to stick around in the middle, 4, 5, 6 seed around there.
Plus another rookie that's been playing for them, Cason Wallace.
He's very good, too.
He's played a lot more than I thought he was going to as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He hasn't started any games or anything, but he is. Yeah, he's played every game, and
kind of a defensive specialist off the bench, and he's knocking really down threes.
Yeah, he's knocking down threes. He's playing good defense. He keeps the ball moving, and I think that he shot better than anybody could ever expect from a rookie.
Totally,
immediately. So,
especially coming out, he wasn't shooting wasn't his specialty.
No, not at all. He was definitely a defensely oriented prospect. We knew he could shoot, but to this level, I don't know if we expected. And I mean, a lot of it is just open catch and shoot stuff, but
which is nice.
And maybe it'll simmer down a little bit. But he's played really well, and he absolutely deserves more minutes.
Yeah, I think the Thunder are all the preseason hype so far has lived up to the hype because of how good Chet Holmgren is.
The other guy, Lou Dort, also I think has played phenomenally. Really,
Dort is he's fun to watch, man.
Yeah, he very much so, as much as any role player in the league.
Yes,
inserts himself into the game,
and the Dortcher chamber is a real thing. But I do love when he gets scored on, and the other team's fan base always that's their go-to. It's just the Dortcher chamber.
I did it. I've done that before.
Really? Yeah.
I think Killian got him in the preseason. I was like, the Dortcher chamber. Huh?
Like that. Yeah. I love that part. That's so funny.
Thunder question though. Also respect to Mark Daigneault. I think my favorite coach in the league. I love the way that they run offense and the way that they use all their guards and all their skills so well. And there's always exit screens going on in the backside. They're always occupying the backside defenders when they can, and they do a good job of minimizing. Well, at least last year. I guess this year they got a lot of guys who can shoot, but last year they didn't. And I feel like they did a really good job of maximizing the guys who could and using Isaiah Joe as a ghost screener and having him start on the block and pick and roll, and he'll pull up to he'll rise to to the top of the key for 3 if you leave somebody because you got to worry about Isaiah Joe. There's a ton of stuff that they do stylistically. I think that's really fun. But I did want to ask Josh Giddey. Do you think that he's like a part of this team going forward? Because
yeah, I think so.
You think so?
He hasn't been like phenomenal.
No,
but like what do you do? Like you move him for like a forward kind of?
I think that
or maybe another guard.
I think he's just the odd man out.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like I will say, like one, because he's the best at his best with the ball in his hands. I think that's no secret.
Yes.
And I do like Josh Giddey. I mean, 6'8" jumbo playmaker. He's an unbelievable passer. Truly, like one of the better passers.
I like Giddey a lot. Yeah.
And but there's no argument to him being one of the 3 best guys on this team going forward. Like Jalen Williams and Chet, I think, are clearly past him.
Yes,
and Shea obviously is the number 1. It doesn't make like he's not at his best as a number 4. So, and I don't think that he provides what you need as like a 4th option. Really.
True.
Like he's not a particularly good defender or shooter. And I feel like having him out there with those guys. Don't get me wrong. Like the way that he can play make is valuable still, but it feels like he deserves probably to get a little bit more rope than that, or at least a little bit more love than that from whatever team he's on. And like if he's on the Spurs, oh my God, how awesome!
That's a good point. I think what team I love for him too. I actually did a 2K rebuild, the Jazz.
Okay,
I got him on the Jazz.
Well, the Jazz just don't have any guards at all.
Right, but that's just why I loved that. Yeah.
That makes sense too. But like, and it's just very clear to me that he's the last guy. Kind of, and I feel like you probably want to move on that rather quickly while his value's still there.
True,
maybe
before you pay him too.
Right, and you can't pay him all. Probably.
He could
With
be
the
the guy
rules, you really don't want to pay
because
him.
They're the Thunder, like the talk with the Thunder, which is it's probably going to happen. Like they're just going to have to make a big trade at some point, right?
They have 1 million assets.
They have to get rid of them
for marketing because they have so many picks.
Maybe Giddey's like the main, like if they, because obviously they have so many picks, but you do also have to trade a guy too,
for sure.
So maybe Giddey is the guy, but then that's like you're trading Giddey plus picks. That's getting you a stud, like Lowry. That's not. I feel like the price on Lowry might not even be that high.
I think it might be.
Like you might just be able to throw
every team wants Lowry,
Ousmane Zhang, and a bunch of picks, dude.
Yeah.
Like 5 picks. Who's saying no?
Then Giddey is your 5th. Giddey's off the. At that point, you just bring him off the bench because you just want a defensive.
Or you
guy.
could say,
like
maybe just Giddey for Lowry, and a Giddey and a pick.
The Jazz would say no to that. I think that. You
think so?
I think you need a plethora of picks, but they have so many.
You got to pay Lowry though.
Yeah, that's true. He's only like 17 a year.
Lowry fits though, like on a team like the Thunder more than he does as like the number 1 option on Utah.
Yeah, like he's a little overtaxed as a number 1, but I think what makes him so awesome is he could be your number 2 and be spectacular.
For sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
And maybe there's somebody else that could be available, but like they have so many assets.
That makes sense, yeah.
They have so many assets, and if they got another guy,
like how do you, if you're any team and they offer you like 5 first plus Josh Giddey for someone, or just any of their young guys, like how do you say no? Like it's just if you're in a situation that it makes sense.
Right, I agree. Like it'd have to like what young guy is worth more than that? There's only probably a handful really.
Who is the guy on this? Who would make sense for the Thunder? I'm trying to just think of another one. Because also Presti had that whole like press conference where he was just like, yeah, like we got to figure out what we have here first before we make a big move, which
and that's
totally
fair.
makes
that's
sense.
Fair, but I feel like we're getting to the point where
they have 4 firsts in this draft.
Yeah,
like
which is hilarious.
And like one of them like could be really one. They have the Clippers swap. They have the Rockets pick, which is top 4 protected. So the Rockets probably aren't going to be to bottom 4. Probably not. So there's another potential lottery pick. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that watching him play. I guess
marketing would be phenomenal. Obviously, marketing would be
unbelievable.
Great.
I'm sure that there's other guys. I just don't have off the top of my head because I haven't thought about it enough. But it does feel like the clock is ticking on Giddey and OKC to
potentially. Okay, so I have one more team. You want to take a guess on how far into this we are?
Oh, good question. Hour and a half, maybe?
Hour 45.
How many teams are that?
A good amount. I feel like we're about, but these are the ones that are quick though. Like towards
that's what we say.
I think the lottery teams are.
We haven't even done the Pistons yet.
I know. That's the Pistons are going to take a minute.
It's an hour.
Okay, we can start we can start moving a little bit faster.
We can try.
We're going to get done in 3 hours. This will not go longer than 3 hours. That's the goal.
We might need a net break.
That's the goal. Okay, so at least we don't have Sports Central tonight though.
That's true. That's true. And there's not. Yeah, I don't really have anything.
Do the Pistons play tonight?
No, they play tomorrow in season.
Oh yeah, duh. Okay, I have one team left in the playoff tier.
Okay.
And this is a team that you might not have. You might, because I think you're high on this team as well. But I think the general fan might not think that. Like, I'm confident this team avoids the play-in. I'm confident.
Okay.
The Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, all right. That's what I was going to guess.
Is my last team in the playoff team tier. Yeah, I just like the Hawks. We talked a lot about the Hawks, honestly, on the radio on Friday, so I'm not going to go too deep in thought here. I just think that
should have been listening if you want.
Should have been, yeah. Well, it's follow Matt on Twitter at Griff1on1, at me Kyle_Sandal22, because we tweet out the link every time we go live. You're not local, if you're local, just go to 101.1 The Beat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Fridays 1 to 3, Wednesdays 8 to 10. But anyways,
good plug.
I basically the reason I'm confident in the Hawks is Trae Young hasn't been that good. They've still been pretty good. Trae Young will
starting to
exactly. He had that huge game in Mexico City. Trae Young will get good. Like, that's just it's very simple. But their offense, like this will end up being a really good offense. They're 6 in offense anyways. With Trae Young shooting 29% from 3, 35% from the field. I think all of those like role player guys, obviously your guy Jalen Johnson's been great, but I think Hunter, Sadiq Bey, I think Bogdanovich, they've all been pretty good so far. They have 8 guys that have played in all 9 games this year, averaging almost 10 points per game.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. They're good. They're good. DeJounte's been better than I anticipated, I'll say. And, like, he's the one who I think, like, if you think Trae's going to progress or, like, regress to the positive regression to the mean is how you would put it. But, like, DeJounte might actually regress.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's in the cards to a degree.
True,
he's just shooting kind of an unbelievable percentage from the mid-range and from 3, really, relative to kind of what we expect him to be. But he's been really good. So much respect to him. And he is a good player. I just don't know if he's quite this good of a shooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jalen Johnson has been my favorite part of watching this team so far. Him and Trae Young clearly have somewhat of a dynamic, and he's just like an awesome passer and a freak athlete, and he's just a very fun basketball player, I think, to watch. He pops off the screen a lot, and I love watching him play. Like, very simply, he is the reason. Like, he will be the reason that I click onto a Hawks game compared to somebody else, probably. Honestly,
imagine if we would have had Ben on this. How long this would have been? I just was thinking about that.
True.
Shout out Ben Bosher too. He
got the invite.
He will be on.
He's out
eventually
doing lame shit.
Yeah, for real. Okay. Do you have any other teams in your like playoff?
Yeah,
team
I have
tiers?
one other one
because I snubbed a few. That's why I created the second tier below it.
I have one.
I assume it's one of the 2 that are in my new tier.
Okay,
go ahead.
It might be.
Maybe.
I don't know if you'd call them fun.
Okay, then maybe not.
The Clippers.
Okay, it's not the Clippers.
I didn't think so.
The Clippers are in my play-in tournament tier.
They might end up in the play-in, I'll say. But also, like...
Do I just put them in the might be contenders, might lose in the play-in tier?
Yes, absolutely.
I definitely do.
But
they suck,
do you really
though.
think they're going to lose in a play? They have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Do I think the Lakers or Suns are going to lose in the play-in?
No. Probably not.
So, like, I have to include them all together.
Yeah.
Also,
I almost think the Suns might lose
that's
more
3
than
Western
the other ones,
Conference teams, too, which is just hilarious.
Yeah. Well, it's the West is where the old guys go, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the Clippers, I moved them up. I moved them up to might be contenders, might lose in the play-in.
Yeah, it's probably a great spot for them. I was like, the thing that worries me or whatever is just the fact that, like, one, they're like healthy right now and they look bad. They're not going to be healthy the whole time. No shot.
That's a good point. But is that a good thing?
What?
No, okay, not guys getting injured, but like them.
I know what you mean.
Them having time to figure it out when like Kawhi is missing a week, and then
probably
that's probably it gets hardened into his flow a little bit.
But here's like there was the I don't know if you saw it. There was like a Ty Lue quote. I wish I was more prepared for this. There was like a Ty Lue quote where he was basically like, "Yeah, we just got to do a better job of playing Harden and Russell. Like they need to not be on the floor together." Basically, is what he said. And I was like, "Oh,
which
sick."
like
so you
most
just traded,
people,
so you just traded everything for a guy that can't play next to your starting point guard. That's dope.
But like we also all knew that. Like it's just ideal to bring Westbrook off the bench.
Agree.
And start Terrence Mann.
Wholeheartedly agree. And you know that is still something that they could just do. Like that's very much so in the cards. Like I think that they're probably now they're 3-6 right now, and it's looked very bad. And the defense has looked pretty bad, and the offense has looked pretty bad, and James Harden has looked very bad. But
he's averaging 13 and 4 this year.
Wow,
that is crazy. The 4 is the big one, dude. Like, you can average 13, whatever.
He's
4
one of the best passers in the league. Like, he's an all-world passer, and he just is averaging 4 assists.
I think the games with Kawhi and Paul George have been weird, too. Like, Paul George had a good game with Harden, but Kawhi was quiet. Then it was the other way around. Kawhi had a big game, and Paul George was quiet.
It's just a little
It's weird.
bit. There's probably a lot to figure out with them, more so than really anybody else, because it is probably the toughest fit just on paper, as far as trying to get all those guys, get the value out of all those guys that they could provide. Now, Tyler also said, hey, we just gotta let Harden play. Like, we just gotta play Harden ball to a degree. You could make he's their second best offensive player behind Kawhi, I think, relatively easily, in my opinion. Now, you could say Paul George if you want to.
Maybe.
But I
I'm
would
a
disagree.
big Paul George guy, though.
Just as an overall offensive player, though?
You're right. I mean, like, the playmaking, obviously.
That's what I'm saying.
Harden, yeah.
Like, honestly, he's probably right there with Kawhi, just because Kawhi doesn't quite do that stuff as much.
Right.
And Kawhi's not
you're
available anymore. So maybe you do just run the offense through Harden, and you just have all the awesome guys around him. And you bring Russ in as sort of a pace changer, like as a guy that can start. All right, now we'll up the pace. Now we'll up the tempo to a degree. Now we'll get out and transition as much as we can. And I think that's probably sort of the what's the word? Like the
caveat.
No, that's not what I was thinking. That's the ingredients make a
recipe.
That's the recipe.
Okay,
that's the recipe, I think, is sort of like looking at them all in that sense. And it kind of sucks because this was just like, oh, this is like a good spot for Russ. And now it's like, not anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was so excited for Russ this year. And now you have Harden.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, Harden's better than Russ. So it makes you better, I guess. But, can you get the most out of those guys? Like the sum of the part, or like all the parts add up to more than the sum. Basically.
I still this is one of those teams that I can't say they're just bad. Like, they're just not gonna,
I think they're going to figure it out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it also just happened in the middle of 5 games into the season. Would have been
nice to have an off season.
Exactly. Would have been nice to have just a week of training camp.
Yeah.
Like, he literally just got thrown into the mix. But like you said, it is a bit of a red flag that everyone's healthy and it's good. But I think it's not the end of the world if Kawhi's going to miss the next 3 games. Right. Let Harden and Paul George, you guys figure things out as a duo. Okay, Paul George is now out. You guys, Harden and Kawhi, figure it out. So I think that could help them. But I think the Westbrook thing is pretty crucial. Like having a sit down, just be like, hey man, I know you hated your life when you came off the bench, down the street at Staples,
and it sucks. For him.
It does, but also it's his boy though. Like, he's happy that
helps.
He's there,
that helps, and I think if they start winning, that probably cures everything. Winning cures all. But if you start bringing him off the bench and it doesn't work, I think you're almost just like,
what do you do? Trade him?
You're just like, I don't know who wants him.
Exactly. He at least it's different than last year, where last year he was making $40 million.
Yes,
this year
absolutely
making $5.
True. And
so a team could use him. Maybe
he'd be cool coming off the bench. Maybe he'd understand. All right, it is.
You're
James
coming off the
Harden.
bench to go crazy. It's not like you're coming off the bench to stand in the corner.
Right. Exactly. And but then I guess that leaves the other thing is do you close games with him?
Depends on the game.
That's really what's most important. You think it's okay
if he's having a good game?
Yeah, fair enough.
He was good off the bench with the Lakers last year when he played off the bench. He just didn't play off the bench very often.
Right. But I mean, the bench is already they kind of got a lot of cooks in that kitchen already with Powell and Bones.
You're right.
How many benches do you have to say there's only one ball? I think
your ideal closing lineup, it really is Harden, Norm, Kawhi, PG, and Plum or Zoo. Norm is probably the ideal 5th guy, right? Maybe Man.
No, I think it'd be Man.
Man
just for
the
tertiary
defense
stuff more, and Paul's definitely a better scorer. And maybe if Man's not making shots,
it just depends on the game. Yeah,
right. If Man's not making shots, then maybe it's Powell. But I don't know. PJ Tucker.
Maybe
could be PJ Tucker.
Definitely could be specialist.
Could be. I don't know.
Take some weight off Kawhi and PG.
That's definitely the big thing is just Kawhi or Harden figuring all that out. And I got to watch them more. I haven't caught enough Harden Clippers stuff yet, just to really get a good grasp on what's going on or why I think it's not working. But you could get an idea generally.
Right.
And also, I will say from earlier in the season when I was watching the Clippers, I feel like Zubac's not playing to his level.
Yeah, I feel like Plumlee low key
Plum Dog
might be better.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of played a little bit more in the playoffs last year too. In their series against the Suns, it seemed like Plumlee was out there a lot more.
He definitely adds some flavor that Zubac doesn't as a playmaker.
Bit of passing,
and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so that wraps up my playoff tier. I think that was your last playoff team tier in the Clippers. Like I said, I moved the Clippers up to the play-in tournament. So let's go over the 2 teams that I added a tier for. And I assume that we haven't talked about either of these teams yet.
Okay.
And it is the fun, but am I confident it lasts tier.
Fair.
Any predictions on the 2 teams in this?
Yeah. Yes. The Pacers are definitely one, right?
The Pacers are definitely one. I originally had the Pacers in my playoff team tier, and
They're
I was
in my
like,
play-in tier.
I was like, I can't have them and Atlanta. I got to pick one or the other. So I picked the Pacers.
Yeah.
Do you know the other one?
I have a sneaking suspicion it could be the Rockets.
It is indeed the Rockets, yes. And I had the Rockets in the play-in tier, but I was like, I feel like they deserve a little bit of respect for the way they've been playing ball. So that's why I created this tier to put the Pacers and the Rockets in here. Let's talk about the Pacers first, because the Pacers might be the most must-watch TV team in the NBA.
Probably. There's 2 I think that there's a couple reasons why. So there's obviously the reason that they have this unbelievable offense.
Yes.
They're the number 1 offense in the league right now. They're second in pace. So they play very fast.
Yes.
They score. They're number 1 in half-court offense as well, despite being in transition all the time. So like there's just always they're just putting the ball in the basket, Now, they seem like a real bitch to play against, to be completely honest with you. Like
you have your infinite money glitch system with the Pacers too.
Yeah,
with the back-to-back thing.
Yeah, I think no team's gonna beat them off a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Probably. Like there's just nobody's gonna want to get up off a back-to-back and play the Pacers. Oh, that sounds horrible.
I mean, Giannis dropped 54 on them and they still lost.
That was gonna be my.
The Pacers won.
The other piece of this is that I have this little journal. That's actually what I'm reading off right now. Like this little journal where I'll I guess not a journal, it's a Google Doc, where I'll like make notes, just like if I notice something with a team, like something small with a team when I'm watching them. And one of them is the first thing that I wrote about them, which was probably in their second game of the season, maybe, that I wrote down, was just like they'll just live in single coverage if somebody's killing them.
Yeah.
So you'll see somebody give them 50.
Go off.
Yeah. Well, Maxey just did it, and Giannis just did it. If there's a sick player playing against the Pacers, you could probably bet on them for like 45 or 40 or however high sportsbooks will go, and you'll probably by the end of the season be like, oh yeah, all right, I made a lot of money.
Yeah. So you have a couple formulas with the Pacers.
There are some. Yeah, I guess so. The pace, and I think that the passing, obviously, Tyrese Halliburton is just an unbelievable passer. He's averaging 24 and 12 right now, but he just makes so many fun passes. He's the leader of the jump pass revolution. He throws 1 million jump passes. Jump passes are good now.
When the coaches told you never to do it.
Yeah, the coaches were wrong. All right, if you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
I throw a lot of jump passes when I play basketball.
My old co-host Easton, he's a basketball coach, and he's something he loves as well. Like he coaches girls basketball now, and he tells them like jump passes are not a bad thing. Like it's like I agree. And he always used to do jump passes.
You have to be able to do it.
Yeah. He was a jump passer always, and he would always get in trouble for it. And he's always been a hater of the people that hate on jump passes.
Angles when you jump that you can't always access when you're on the ground.
You just have to be able to do so.
You have to be able to do so. You have to be creative.
Tyrese is phenomenal at it.
I think you have to be to a level creative. Yeah, he's phenomenal at it. He's very good body contortion and control of his body. So like when he does jump, and if he is in a precarious, like he can kind of twist his body in a bunch of ways. But yeah, I've enjoyed watching the play. I think Ben Mathurin has taken a step as a passer. That's something that I've noticed this season. Maybe I wasn't watching him close enough before, but I think that he's just been, I don't know. I feel like the reads have been good. I feel like he's been making like skip passes and stuff, and I was like, I don't know if Ben Mathurin was doing that last year. So shout out to Ben Mathurin. He also did a good job on Giannis down the stretch, like defensively. That was pretty crazy, that game when Giannis had 54. They play fast. They don't just play fast by running in transition. When it's half-court offense, they play with tempo. They're getting into their stuff very, very quickly. They're not waiting. Like, you watch some other teams play. I think Milwaukee was always like this, and that always frustrated me, for example, where it's like, you're not getting into anything till there's 15 left on the shot clock, and so now you have a lot less time, or like 13 left on the shot clock. So now you have less time. Like you're sped up. Everything that you do is going to be sped up. The Pacers are not like that. They're getting into their sets. They're getting into whatever actions they're running immediately, and I appreciate that about them. Shout out to Coach Carlisle, man. Done an incredible job with this team. They are extremely fun to watch.
Always been a great offensive mind.
I think that they're going to do good in the regular season because of what I mentioned earlier. Nobody wants to play them, just off a back-to-back or whatever, a long road trip. Nobody wants to.
That's why I initially had them in that playoff team tier, and then I decided to switch it up because the defense is like
it's bad.
It's bad.
So bad.
It for sure is. But they have a clear identity. We're just gonna play faster and try to score more than you. Right. And which is, it's not a championship winning identity,
probably not.
But it's fun. Like it's something that they are embracing, and I think it's cool.
Like the 80s Nuggets.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Adams.
And like I think their role players have done a really good job like shooting the ball. Aaron Nesmith has been phenomenal shooting threes. Buddy Hield, obviously, he's not a role player. He's one of the greatest shooters in NBA history.
He's a role player.
Yeah, I mean he is a role player, yes. But as far as shooting the three ball goes, you can count on him to shoot the three well. Bruce Brown has done a good job shooting the ball. Turner's been phenomenal this year. I love Miles Turner. One of the, you want an ideal NBA center that can just do it for you. He just is. You point at Miles Turner.
Yeah.
You point at Brook Lopez. You know,
shoot it.
You block shots. You shoot threes. You space the floor. It's
dribble drive a little bit.
Exactly.
Turner's got a little
throw down a posterizing dunk if you need to. Like he just kind of does what you need. And I think another reason why this is must-watch TV is because they have some of the best highlight dudes. Like that Obi Toppin dunk the other night.
That was sick.
What was that, man? That was incredible. Tyrese Halliburton makes the fake no look passes. Like they're hilarious.
Watching Tyrese Halliburton makes me want to play basketball.
Yeah, I want to go do that.
Yeah, because like none of what he does feels like
hard.
Yes, none of it, it's like he just kind of
he's just passing it to the open guy.
Yeah, all the time, and like he makes some cool passes, and like they look sick, but they probably look a little bit sicker than they are like difficult. Yeah, which is the ideal way to play basketball.
I agree. And then even guys like Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith, these are some high flying athletic bigs that are going to have some posterizing dunks. Like they're fun to watch. Ben Mathurin is going to throw down some crazy dunks. Bruce Brown is an entertaining basketball player. Buddy Hield's going to lace threes left and right. Like it's a fun group of guys to watch. So they're there. The Houston Rockets are the other team. McConnell. The Houston Rockets are my other team. Who is?
The Red Cross.
I thought you said Rick Ross.
That would be sick.
That would be sick. We'd have to cancel the podcast for this.
Actually, you could probably just don't.
That's true.
Like, what up, boss?
But Houston Rockets are my other team in the fun, but am I confident at last year? This is for a much different reason than the Indiana Pacers, though. Ime Udoka has really given this team an identity defensively. They're fifth defensive team in the NBA right now, and they're 10th offense too. So they are up the top 10 in both right now, which is pretty crazy. They also aren't turning the ball over. I think Fred VanVleet's done a great job with that. They're 4th in assist to turnover ratio. Their starting 5, I think, have just all looked pretty good, I think. Like as a unit, that starting 5 is good. Obviously, Dylan Brooks is knocking down shots, so that helps a lot. And Şengün, you talked about it on the radio the other day. Like he has been phenomenal so far for this Houston Rockets team. It's early. I can't lock this team into being a playoff team, as we know what we've seen. But from the beginning of the season, I would have had Houston Rockets as a lottery team. I didn't think they were a top 10 team in the West. I picked their under. I'm pretty sure on over/under wins. And that's changed. I think that they this team is going to be a good defensive team all year, and that will lead to a handful of wins.
Yeah.
I'm going to check the video real quick.
Dylan Brooks shooting. Should I keep going?
No, you can keep going.
All right. Dylan Brooks shooting 55% from 3 and the field, which is pretty crazy. I think defensively he's been as good as advertised. He's matching up with the best player on the other team, whether that be, with he'll match up with Zion and he'll match up with Brandon Ingram in the same game type deal. Like he kind of can do whatever you need. He was guarding like Wemby for a little bit. Now Wemby torched him, I fear. But sometimes that'll happen. He's only taking 9 field goal attempts a game. That's pretty nice. They beat the Nuggets last night, which is pretty sick. That was what I think that this is the team. Yeah, I had him in my play-in tier, and I think like what really told me to put them in the playoff tier, because before I was like, they haven't really beat anybody, and now they beat the Nuggets.
Right.
Now, obviously,
aren't they like a 6-game win streak, 5-game win streak?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think
so. And like they hadn't beat anybody, so I was like, maybe, whatever. Like it's still early in the season, small sample size, yada yada. But they did a good job against the Nuggets, and they won that game. And I watched a little bit of it last night as I was going to sleep. So like after it had already occurred, I saw what happened, and I was watching, and Jokic was really, really good. But hey, so was Şengün and those guys, and they fought back, and they're doing this despite like Jalen Green hasn't been like spectacular, 19 points per game. So like I think a lot of people considered him like, hey, he's just a volume scorer. That's not really what he's done this season, but he's been relatively efficient, not turning it over a ton like you mentioned. And yeah, VanVleet's been a steadying force. Jabari Smith shooting 36 from 3. Whole team is shooting 37% from 3. So that's obviously really good to see. They don't have Amen Thompson right now. He's injured. Tari Eason's just coming back from injury, and he's already doing the Tari Eason stuff that we've come to expect. All the hustle role player things. And yeah, like Şengün has been unbelievable. Made strides on both ends of the floor. Has touch, has a bag, can really pass offensively. He's clearly, their hub and what everything's going to run through on that end. And defensively, he's been extremely active. And I think that the Rockets have done a good job of now that they have VanVleet and Brooks and guys that he can depend on the perimeter, it's allowed him to be better as a defender down on the block and up at the level of screens and things of that nature. So I think that, Udoka's been extremely, extremely important for them, and I think that these guys taking leaps, particularly Sengun taking a leap, has been incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like this Rockets team, like I said, I was not very high on them coming into this year. They've doubted, I've been doubted. I don't know. What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm trying to say either.
You were doubtful?
I was doubtful, and now I'm not, I guess. I've been changed my mind on the Rockets. They're fun, man. I just think that like I really do think that they will be a top 10 probably defense by the end of the season. Like top 15.
Maybe. Yeah, I think top 15.
And so I just think like
they haven't played a lot.
It's going to be hard for You're right. It's going to be hard for them to be bad with that kind of defense. When you do have the offensive ability in Sengun and Jalen Green, who's going to be able to score, in bursts. And Fred VanVleet, who I think has been pretty good so far for this team. And that's just without, one of the stud rookies of this class, Amen Thompson. He's been injured for most of the season. Even when he did play, he has not played very much. Maybe there's a world where he kind of comes into his own when he returns from injury. So that could obviously help boost them as well. So those are my only two teams in the fun, but am I confident it lasts tier. And now we move into the play-in tier. And this is kind of a this is just, you think they're hovering around the play-in, whether or not it's the 7 seed, whether or not it's the 10 seed, whether or not it's just making it.
It's vibes for me.
It's playing vibes. You could see them playing in that game. I have 5 teams here, in the play-in spot. Why don't you give me a team first?
Okay. I'll go with the Kings.
The Kings are my first team in this tier, actually.
Yeah. They obviously, De'Aaron Fox got hurt, and
which is a big part to their season so far.
Yeah, clearly.
I got a question for you about the Kings.
Okay.
Who is Keon Ellis?
I'll tell you.
Because I will say,
he's nice.
I was watching the Kings game the other night, and I saw him score. And like I said, I told you like that quiz that I did. Like I feel like I know about 96% of the NBA players. And I saw him score, and I was like, I don't know who that is. So I looked him up, and I was like, he was on the Kings last year too?
Yeah. Yes, he
Didn't know that.
He's like a defensive-oriented guy,
right,
basically.
He started in a couple games.
Yep. Yeah, they've been running him out there. Yeah, I think he's just like a very good defensive player that they hope hits shots, kind of. And like, I mean, he keeps the ball moving and everything, and like he can drive a little bit and stuff. I think, I know a little bit about Keon Ellis. I'm not going to tell you that I've broken down a ton of Keon Ellis, but I do know who he is. And now that he's playing, I think like he's been pretty fun to watch. He started a couple games, and I'm like, all right, good for Keon Ellis. He's playing well. Looks like an NBA player. So yeah, he's mostly like defense is kind of his deal.
Yeah, but I mean the Kings in general though, they just obviously last year they were the best offense in the entire NBA. This year it's been a much different start. They're the 24th ranked offense. They just aren't shooting the ball well. Like I said, Keegan Murray's not shooting the ball well. Herter has not been like this elite shooter that they had last year. De'Aaron Fox injury plays a huge role in this. Harrison Barnes obviously went crazy in game 1, but since then he's kind of taken a step. Fine, so it's like I think their offense will pick it up, but I don't know if their defense is good enough to like for me to say they'll still make out of the play-in tournament.
That's where I'm at with it. Yeah. The offense is not historically great, it seems.
Not quite.
Yeah, partially in due fact that the role players aren't just like shooting the shit out of the ball again. And yeah, I mean, not having De'Aaron's a huge blow. He was really playing extremely well for those first couple games.
He's about to win clutch player of the year again.
Yeah, he averaging 30. But obviously now it's just kind of hoping that Sabonis can carry the load and Keegan Murray can pick it up and Malik Monk a little bit. But those guys Sabonis I think has been pretty good, to be honest, when I've watched. But yeah, I don't know. Monk has struggled a little bit, and Davion Mitchell struggled, and they just kind of don't quite have the scoring punch that they probably need to be like an offensive-oriented team that makes the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
I still put them in the play-in because I think that when De'Aaron comes back, they should be above 500, and that will hopefully be enough. But yeah, I don't know. Like this isn't a super inspiring unit right now to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the Kings. I hope that Vezenkov starts to play more.
Yeah, get Sasha some run, man.
You need some guys to hit threes.
You need points. Put in Sasha.
Just give him like a couple games where he gets like 30 minutes. Just see what happens. Just like tell Harrison Barnes, hey, you got the weekend off. It's Sasha's time. Okay, my next team that I have in the play-in tier is the Orlando Magic. A team that I was high on the Orlando Magic coming into the season. I think that they still could for sure be a play-in tournament team. When I watch the Magic though, dude, I feel like their offense to me is just so clunky. I'm not a fan of their offensive game. It's just a lot of guys that are like,
well, they don't have shooting,
and that's kind of why. Like that's the big part. Because even their guards aren't Markelle Fultz doesn't shoot threes.
They don't need all these guards, man.
They don't. They really don't. Cole Anthony's been a solid so far. I love Jalen Suggs. I think he has been. I mean, this is the 4th ranked defense.
Jalen Suggs, I think, is the best.
I love Suggs. I was pretty high on Suggs coming into this year. I'm like him finally breaking out. That's kind of happening. I mean, he's averaging the most minutes in his career so far, because last year he kind of just got shunned and averaged like 20 minutes a game. But this year, he's averaging 12, 5, and 3 on pretty good splits with 2 steals a night. Their defense, like I said, has been really good, but no one can shoot threes on this team. Like literally at all. Last year they had like Gary Harris holding it down to shoot threes. But this year it's just even the guards don't shoot threes, so it's really difficult for them to have a good looking offense. So I consider putting them in the fun, but will it last here? But like they're not that fun. They're not that fun to watch. And the offense is weird. I still think this will be a good team. Like Paolo Banchero is great. Franz Wagner has looked pretty solid so far. But something will happen with the Magic. Like you said, with all the guards, like they'll do something. Done. You think so?
I think it's just I think Fultz is just not a good an ideal supporting player for this team or what they need, just because he can't shoot at all. And I think
he just doesn't even shoot.
Like he's a little bit more defensively oriented, but I don't know. Like offensively, I think like his defense is pretty good, but offensively, I think that he isn't great at like picking his spots right now. When to be I think he's a little over aggressive for what he is.
Right.
And also obviously he can't shoot, and teams know that he can't shoot, and so he just kind of makes everything tougher. On everybody to a degree. And I love Markelle Fultz. I love his story.
For sure.
100,000%. I just don't think that this is the right spot for him, to say the least. Maybe he gets a different start somewhere else, and
Utah.
Just a team that Utah maybe just a team that fits
Utah
better.
The guards.
Yeah, just send Utah the guards. Just a team. Yeah, anybody that fits him a little bit better, I think would be good for both parties. But they are 3rd in defensive rating right now.
Yeah,
and that's pretty awesome. For sure. I think Paolo's been pretty great. I would say maybe not great. He's been very good. Franz has had a couple tough shooting games, but I still love his process. I still love everything that he's doing. The shots just aren't always falling, but he's still getting to the rim at relatively easily. And
I think Anthony Black has been pretty solid in his limited minutes.
Solid. Yeah, and he's been shooting it pretty well, if I'm not mistaken. And they're 5-4 for a reason. I think that this team will probably continue to be 5-4. The defense was really good last year during for a long stretch when Bol stopped being a part of the rotation, and they were pretty good when Bol stopped being a part of the rotation. I feel like they're just kind of at that level still. Jalen Suggs has been unbelievable.
Yeah, I love Suggs.
I love watching him. He's my favorite watch on the entire team. I think that he's one of my favorite role players to watch in the entire league. Dude. Just clamps, and there's just always so much chaos, emotional. And he's just doing stuff, man. He's just always doing stuff, cutting, running fast breaks, yada yada. Yeah, he's not the most talented offensive player by any stretch of the imagination, but just a really fun defensive oriented hustle guy.
He's not a bust either. I hate the bust.
No, he's not a bust. He's a good role player.
He's a solid
very
player.
Good role player.
Yeah, he was taken before Josh Giddey and Franz Wagner, but who cares?
Agree.
He's done fine.
Agree, and he rebounds, and he's a pretty good passer, very good transition passer, I think. Wendell Carter has missed their last 4 games. He might be their best shooter,
which is kind of crazy.
Which is kind of crazy. So that's no small subtraction.
So I had the Pelicans in my play-in tier. That was a team that we discussed earlier already.
Yeah.
So I have 2 more teams in this play-in tournament tier. One of them may surprise you. But why don't you throw me a play-in tournament team here?
Okay.
Not too many teams left for me, at least. I think I have 9, 10 teams left. That's still a good amount.
That is a third of the league.
Yes.
How about the Grizzlies?
The Grizzlies are in my play-in tier. I thought that maybe you would have them not in it because obviously they're a terrible start.
They are terrible right now.
They're literally the worst team in the NBA record. Actually, no, the Pistons are. Wow, that sucks. Worst team in the West. The Grizzlies are 2-8.
We still haven't done the Pistons.
Bad on both sides. Second worst offense in the NBA. The offense is so rough. Because last year, they already weren't a good half-court offense last year. They just lived in transition. And then you take away
to a degree
Ja Morant and Tyus Jones.
The only half-court creator, basically. And the only one that's creating anything for themselves.
Exactly.
Else
and
at a high level.
Desmond Bane has been good.
That was Desmond Bane. Disrespect. Desmond Bane creates a little
And
bit.
he's been good, but I would say he's overtaxed.
Which is crazy. Yeah, he absolutely is overtaxed.
I think he's done a decent job. You have no Ja Morant. I can't say this team is a lottery team. They're still going to be competing for the play-in, but they're not. I wouldn't have had them in the play-in tournament.
They can't shoot right now.
Literally.
Also.
And obviously they lost Steven Adams for the year, which is a terrible loss. They already don't have Brandon Clark. none of their young role guys that you would want to step up really have in a big way. It's not great right now for the Grizzlies. Like, what do you think their record will be when Ja Morant returns?
He's missing
25. So he's missed 10 so far. Like, does this pace continue? Do they win
6 and
5
19.
games? Is that recoverable? 6-19 to start the season is atrocious.
Yeah.
Like I don't think the Pistons will be 6-19, and they're the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
you know,
they might be 6-19.
I don't know, dude. I got faith. We got people coming back, man.
So that would be 4-11 here on out for the Grizzlies, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, maybe they could go 5. Maybe they get 7 wins, 7 and 18.
Just one more.
Yeah, just one more. But then after that, you got to win.
You have to win so many.
You have to win.
You have to basically get to like
35 games.
Yeah, like minimum 35.
They could do that.
So okay, so let's do the math.
It's not just that they don't have Ja right now. I think they're also just not shooting it well.
Yes,
you know, like
even
that's
Luke
a big
Kennard,
piece of it, and
who's their 3-point guy.
Yeah, he's okay right now. And Bane, I guess, you know, Bane is shooting 35%, which is below his standards, but also he's got to take different, like he has to shoot off the dribble and stuff more.
Right.
And like he just has to be more aggressive. He's not a guy that should probably get 22 field goal attempts a game. But despite that, yeah, I don't love what I've seen. I think the defense has been top half of the league, which is nice, I guess, and you know, a testament a little bit to what Jaren Jackson and Marcus Smart are able to do. I thought it would be a little bit better than that. Like when I was projecting what this team would be without Ja, I was like, I mean, the defense should be awesome. And it's not quite awesome. It's just fine. But yeah, they just don't have anybody that can get to the rim with any consistency at all. And you need to put pressure on the rim to have a good offense in the NBA. And that's just not a thing that they have, very, very simply. But fortunately, Ja Morant puts as much pressure on the rim as anybody in the league. And so when he comes back, I do think that everybody will be able to fall into place a little bit more. We need Jaren to like shoot better. We need Marcus Smart to shoot better without a doubt. But you know, as things sort of start to smooth out and Xavier Tillman hopefully starts to shoot better, etc. Really everybody except for Kennard to a degree. If all of that can sort of come together, then there should be a play-in team.
Yeah, so I've done the math. They have to go 28-29 in the remaining 57 games to get to 35 wins if they start 7-18, which I might have done the math wrong.
I think you did.
But 35 wins doesn't get you in the play-in tournament, right?
No, but I think you did that math wrong.
Did I? 7-18.
18 plus 29 is...
18 plus 29 is...
47. Oh, yeah, 35 and 47.
Yes.
That's right.
And then 7 plus 28 is 35. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
right.
That is right.
They could do that.
But you need more than 35. You need to be 500.
Like, let's take a look at last year's NBA standings.
They need to go... They need to... like 33 and 24.
They gotta win like 40 games.
I think 33 and 24 if they start 7-18.
Last year in
plausible.
the Western Conference, the 10 seed Chicago, or in the East, the Chicago Bulls had 40 wins. They were the 10 seed. In the West, the Thunder had 40 wins. So you like gotta get 40 minimum.
Yeah, they gotta go like 30 and I don't know.
I guess they could. They could.
Yeah.
It's just like it's gonna be hard. You know, like it ain't set in stone.
No. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk. I'm just saying I think that they can do it.
So what if it's like really bad, right? Like what if when Ja comes back, they're like they got like 4 wins.
Oh.
Like
Ooh.
what do you do? Do you just be like, hey Ja, like why don't we just
you still give it a shot.
Right.
You still gotta give it a shot because what if it does all just click?
That's
you
true.
Get Ja back.
But at some point, like they might not have their pick, honestly. I know Utah's got one of their picks from the Mike Conley trade.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that still exists or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about their pick situation. I think that they own their.
Yeah,
I don't know.
whatever.
But,
they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. I don't know. I do think that this team can still squeak into the.
Yes, I think so too.
Although maybe I haven't done the math right, and I've already said 10 West teams that are better.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, my last team in the play-in tier is a team that I'm not like incredibly confident in. I almost put this team in the blow it up tier, just because they're in a really weird situation.
Okay.
The Brooklyn Nets is a team that I have here in the will they make the play-in tournament tier. Right now the Nets are 5-5. They're in a weird spot. Cam Thomas has been that freaking dude, 27 points per game this year, but he is injured now, which is really unfortunate. Mikal Bridges he's been all right. Like he's had his games where he's not so great. He shot the ball all right. I thought Lonnie Walker has been really good, guy off the bench from this year. Maybe if they want to cash in on some more assets, he could be a guy that they move. Ben Simmons, who we talked about a lot coming into this year, he's averaging 6 points per game, 11 rebounds and 7 assists, though. So give him to that. Only 6 field goals a game, though. Come on, Ben. We got to shoot
also
more.
Missed a couple games.
We got to shoot more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think the Nets are just like they'll probably compete for a playing spot, but like is that their direction they want to go? Who knows? Maybe they do want to blow it up and try to get more picks but they also don't have a lot of their picks. So they're in a weird spot.
Yeah. I don't. They are in a weird spot, and the fact that they're 5-5 just kind of makes sense. I will say, like, I think this defense is better than they have been, or at least from a statistical standpoint,
right.
Like they've been.
They just have a lot of good defenders.
Yeah, and right now they're 19th in defense. I think that should be top 10 by the end of the season. To be honest with you, like if it evens out, especially with Cam Thomas missing time, that should help that end of the floor. Now, if I want to be sort of positive on my outlook, I would say that Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges are both shooting under 29% from three, and that will not continue.
That's true.
I feel pretty confident in saying that.
I hope not.
Now, maybe Cam Thomas slows down. I honestly don't think he will. I think this is just what he is. He's just going to get you 28 a game, like just getting buckets.
He would have done this last year if they would have played him.
He would have done this last year if they would have played him. I don't know. I think that Claxton hasn't been as awesome as I was hoping he would, but, well, not that he hasn't been as awesome. He only played like a couple games at the start of the year. So, not having him, he's probably the third best player on the team, maybe second. And he just hasn't really played, so you don't get his production. And I think that as he comes back, what is his outlook from an injury perspective? Do you
Cam?
know?
Yeah. I think it was like a month.
No, Claxton.
Oh, Claxton?
Yeah.
Let me look it up. We'll find out. Yeah,
I only watched this team. This is one of the teams that I haven't
for
really
sure.
watched,
I guess I don't know. I've watched like Cam Thomas.
Cam Thomas highlights.
Nick
he's back now. Okay,
yeah. It looks like he returned last night.
Yeah, 10, 13, and 4 blocks. That's dope. But the first game that he's back, he wasn't very good. I saw that one, and I don't know why I thought that he whatever. Anyway, this is not a team that I watch much at all, so I don't have the best grasp for it. What I have seen is a lot of people talking about how good Dennis Smith Jr. is playing defense, which is pretty dope. However, he's not playing that much.
Yeah.
He will play now that Cam Thomas probably missing some time, so I guess that there's that. So I do think the defense, as Dennis Smith Jr. and Claxton sort of rear their head into some more minutes, they'll probably start clamping dudes up. But I just haven't watched a ton, so I don't have a ton to say.
Yeah, me either.
To be honest,
I'm just kind of interested to see what happens with the Nets, because they could go either direction really. They have assets to move to get a good guy or to get more picks or just stay where they're at. They're really in a really interesting situation right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more teams in the play-in tier? Because for me, I only have 2 in the blow it up, and then I have 6 in the lottery.
I have 1
Okay.
more in the play-in tier, just because it's like there should be another Eastern Conference play-in team. I went with.
Is it your Hornets?
Yeah, I went with my Hornets.
Yeah.
They haven't been.
Hornets.
It's not like the record's good.
Yeah, I have the Hornets in the lottery tier.
Yeah, and that's more than fair. This is very much so like betting on the fact that before the season, I thought that they'd be pretty good, and I still kind of think that they should be pretty good. They just haven't been.
Yeah, LaMelo's looked good. I think Gordon Hayward has looked pretty good too, surprisingly.
Yes,
better than I thought he would. I guess
they're 3-6 right now. And they are almost last in defense, which is not good. They're 29th in defense. So, I think that I'm betting on that maybe sort of not staying the case. Like, I'm betting on the defense, at least putting together a stretch here where it's not horrific.
Yeah.
Mark Williams' defense has not quite been as good as I was hoping that it would be, probably.
Yeah.
But
I think he's been good offensively, though.
Yes, he has. And he's been very good on the boards. And that's, I guess, really important. But I would love if Gordon Hayward could do anything on that end, I will say. It feels like he has sort of turned his brain off when the ball goes to the other team. But I will say, LaMelo's defense has impressed me a little bit when I watched. I think that he's been, not just that one steal on Halliburton, just in general, I think he's been more locked in on that end. And that is probably what's most important for this team. He's been more locked in on that end, and he's getting to the rim more. Is he finishing quite as well at the rim as you hope? No. But I think that will come. At least he's getting there now. Before, he was settling for too many floaters and things. Now he's actually getting all the way to the rim when he's running pick and roll, and that's very nice to see. And so that's why I'm betting on them. I think that he'll start to generate more fouls, and he'll just become a generally more efficient offensive player. as that continues. And over the last 5 or so games, the threes have started falling. They weren't at the start of the year, but now they are.
He was kind of taking it slow, I feel like, to start off too, and he's had a couple huge games lately.
Yeah, he's had 4 straight big games. And so, if that will continue, I think they'll continue to win games, and I do think that will continue to a degree. Now, I'm not saying he's going to average 32 like he has been doing, but I think that he is going to have a very good season, and in turn, he will probably get this team to the high 30s in wins. And I think that if PJ Washington continues to play pretty well, which I think he has on both ends of the floor, really, and Brandon Miller just got hurt, which sucks because he was
a lot of rookies been getting hurt, man.
Yeah, he got hurt. He had 11 in the first quarter against New York and got hurt.
Oh, I actually didn't even know that.
Yeah,
that
he got
sucks.
hurt in the first quarter.
I knew he got hurt, but I didn't realize he was going off. Yeah,
it looked like about that 40 in his
was
first.
Was it in MSG?
Yeah.
Oh, that
sucks,
it
really sucks.
Bro.
Really sucks. I would love for the defense to figure it out. Maybe get some more Bryson McGowan's minutes, but that's just kind of the gamble I'm taking. They're not shooting particularly well from three. Terry Rozier was really bad when he was playing. He's injured right now, but when he was playing, it wasn't looking great. And PJ Washington and Brandon Miller are both shooting under 28% from three, which is not what you want from your wings,
But we'll see. Yeah. Miller was a really good college three-point shooter. So
I don't have
on high volume, so hopefully he can pick it up.
Don't worry about it.
I'm right there with you with the Hornets. I'm nothing really to say else. You kind of hit on everything. I do have them as a lottery team. I'm not obviously as high on them as you are, but I think that's fair. They just have, they haven't been very great so far. It's kind of hard for me to buy into them. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with them going forward. 2 teams in this blow it up tier for me. Feel like they're pretty obvious. Do you want to guess them?
The blow it up tier?
The blow it up tier.
I'll guess one. You give me is one of them Chicago?
One of them is Chicago, yes. The Chicago Bulls are in the blow it up tier. The other team is in here for a different reason, I feel like, but we'll talk about them later. The Bulls, it's very clear. I don't want to put them in the lottery. I don't want to put them in the maybe make the play in. It's just blow it up. Because if they don't blow it up, they probably make the play-in tournament. I don't know. They've been pretty bad.
They might, is what I'll say.
Yeah, they might. They're 4-6 right now. The only guys that really you've look at this team is okay, they've been pretty good, are the 2 guys that have value, and that's Alex Caruso and Javon Carter. I feel like those guys have been
the only guys with value, Alex Caruso.
As far as from what you would like to get in return. From a Zach LaVine trade and a DeMar DeRozan trade, you're just not going to get what you would think, I feel like, personally.
Definitely not for DeRozan. I
maybe
think
LaVine
might net you something.
LaVine has been pretty good. Obviously, he's had his games. The Pistons game, obviously, was freaking incredible. But this Bulls team, man, Patrick Williams just doesn't play that much because he just hasn't been very great. They did just kill our Pistons, so that is... that it's kind of sucks to talk shit about this team when they just beat your favorite team.
Right.
But yeah, it's time for the Bulls, man. It's just been a really rough year. And I kind of want to see Patrick Williams play more and have maybe a more offensive role than he currently does.
I think a lot of people would like that. He just isn't aggressive.
Right. But if LaVine and DeRozan are gone,
maybe
he kind of is forced to be,
You could be right about that, and I guess that'd be nice to see. I don't know if I buy him as anything more than a catch and shoot guy on offense, honestly.
I just want to watch. I just want to see.
I
want to find out.
I think Drummond's been pretty good.
Yeah.
He was awesome against the Pistons.
He was.
But I feel like every time I watch him, he's the best center on the team. I will say.
Right?
I don't know.
Vooch had a pretty good game last night.
He did, but they were just kind of showing and recovering, and they left him wide open over and over.
That's true. He's just knocking out shots, yeah.
And they just live with that. But, I think Caruso's been super sick. I love watching Caruso defensively. And offensively, he's been really, he's hitting his threes.
Yeah.
And, he obviously always has been a guy that moves the ball pretty well and makes quick decisions. So he's been awesome, and I think every contender should probably hit their line outside of maybe Boston.
Yeah. Boston does not need him.
Boston does not need him. But, yeah, I think you got to blow it up.
Yeah.
Just trade these guys.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, just you got to tank to a degree. Tough year to tank. The draft isn't very good from what I understand. But I've been seeing the draft guys that I'm cool with on Twitter start posting their first mocks and stuff.
Yeah, college season is tipping off, man.
Yeah.
Hey, tomorrow night, a lot of draft prospects playing tomorrow night. You got MSU Duke. You got Kansas Kentucky.
There you go.
Should be a pretty fun
My
one.
dog Roe on Twitter, his number one, plays at Providence. I wish I remembered his name.
Oh, I think Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. God, I can't.
I had never heard of the guy before.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I pay attention to the draft. Like, I'm not a super heavy draft guy, but like
I like the draft a lot.
I love the draft once like the NBA season is.
Yes, because then you just because usually the Pistons aren't playing in the playoffs.
Yes, exactly. And like I pay very like once that happens.
Who do you want the Pistons to get?
Like, throughout the season,
I think I know who you're talking about. Now I want to look it up too.
His name is like Dewey or something.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Because I've been like, I'm pretty locked into college basketball. I'm a pretty big college basketball guy, so I've been.
But I never heard of that. Usually, I know all the other top guys. Like I've heard of all of them. I had never heard of this guy, and he's his number one, which is pretty dope. Garwy Duel.
Okay. Yep. I didn't know that he was like that ranked. Got him ranked that high though. Is it just like his guy?
That might just be his guy.
His
I
guy.
It's like a pretty weak draft, so like you might see a lot more.
That's
like,
true.
Deviation up there, but I don't know. Just wanted to mention that. And then I looked to see if Providence ever played in Michigan because maybe I could go check them out.
Maybe, No, it's unfortunate. Maybe he turns out a little bit better than Chris Dunn, who is a former lottery pick from Providence.
Former Friar.
Yep, former Friar. Providence has been pretty good actually too in hoops the last several years.
I actually didn't know that.
Okay, so the other team in my blow it up tier is for a little bit of a different reason. It's another kind of obvious one. Before the season, you would have picked this team. It's the Toronto Raptors. But I have them in the blow it up tier because I think it's just like this season has shown. Like, this is Scotty Barnes' team now.
Correct. That is true.
That's
why I wasn't sure if they should be blow it up or like playing.
I had them in playing originally, but then I was like, why do I just have the Bulls in this tier? Like, this is just the Bulls tier. I need to add someone else.
I do just have the Bulls.
Yeah.
I just left the Raptors off because I wasn't sure which way you wanted to go.
Right, exactly.
But what you're saying is
and
true.
yeah, it's not from a like we need to trade everyone because we suck. It's like, okay, we need to trade Siakam while we can.
That's why I think it's different because the Raptors have the next guy.
Yeah, this isn't blow it up and tank for them, I guess. It's just blow it up. But blow it up because you need to trade Siakam because he's a free agent. You can keep OG. Like, I think
he's about to be a free agent.
If you want to re-sign him, I guess you got to trade Siakam and get something for him. Get something that kind of helps Scotty Barnes a little bit more, that fits around him better because he's been really good this year. I think. Schroeder,
what do you think is the type of player to surround Scotty Barnes with?
I mean, like, obviously, you would just want a guy that can defend and shoot like that. But that's a very clear.
Yeah,
like every guy could use a guy like that. It's just you if you're trading Siakam, I guess you want to trade someone that kind of has a different play style than Siakam does. Someone that's less ball dominant. I like having Scotty Barnes have the ball in his hand, like point Scotty type of thing.
Yeah,
obviously,
they use him a lot as a hub.
Exactly,
now,
and I think that
cool.
A guy who can come off of screens and come off of DHOs and kind of knock down shots would be a good get for this team. I don't necessarily know like what kind of trade makes sense because obviously the other team would have to want Siakam and make sense for them too, but. I think that it's clear that Siakam's time has come in Toronto as being the number one guy. So I'm interested to see what they do. So that's why I have them in the blow it up tier. It's not blow it up and tank. It's just blow it up for the Raptors.
Trade Siakam. Trade Siakam.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like, but generally with the Raptors, like Scotty Barnes is that guy, man. Like he's been unbelievable this season. He's been efficient. He's shooting it pretty well. Defensively, I think he's becoming what a lot of people sort of hoped he would when he was a young prospect. I think that a lot of people considered him like a more defensive oriented prospect. And I wasn't super convinced of that based on his like first 2 seasons in the league that he was like a super nasty defender. But it feels like he's playing that way right now. He's an unbelievable transition player, grab and go guy, just run the court very fast. He's very long. And he's an awesome passer. He's very strong. Like he can kill mismatches. And he does post up quite a bit. If you want to put a smaller guy on him, he'll post him up and he'll get into his chest and he'll put him under the basket. If you want to put a bigger guy on him, he's generally a little bit quicker. I like that's just an awesome type of player to build around, becoming like just this guy that I think like he's becoming the idealized version of himself, which is very, very fun to watch him grow into. I think I watched that Spurs game where they came back and it was basically off the back of Scotty Barnes, and I was just like, man, this dude is very much so putting this team, like he's taking this team over completely.
He's having a phenomenal season.
Yeah, he's been awesome, and I think that adding guys like you mentioned, I mean, obviously having 3-and-D guys is always going to help, but I think like surrounding him with guys that can like really smart cutters, I think would be nice because he's a very good passer.
Yeah,
out of
that's
high
true.
Post type deal. I think that if you get more guys that just know where to be and what to do. That could help a lot. And obviously they could definitely use more shooting. Shout out to Dennis Schroeder, who I think has been playing really well as well. Yeah. But yeah, I've enjoyed watching the Raptors more than I have in the past couple of seasons because
they've
of the
been pretty
Scotty Barnes
unwatchable.
Renaissance. I believe they do play tonight. So that might be the game that I check out. There's only a couple games tonight.
Yeah, we'll see, because I just don't know what team makes sense to trade for Siakam, because if you're trading for Siakam, I'm assuming that you are extending Siakam. So
yeah, right. Yeah,
who makes sense for Siakam is definitely an interesting question. There is teams that would could definitely use him. It's just what about the Thunder? Is the Thunder a team?
They're not a team, I guess.
I don't know how much I like the fit.
Siakam again, dude, Siakam is a weird player.
He is a really weird player.
I've seen him be a number 2 on a championship. I've seen him be a supporting cast guy on a championship team. So clearly he can be, I guess. But it feels like that was a little bit different of a player.
He also wasn't
it wasn't
at the volume that he currently is.
Wasn't at the volume that he currently has. Also, that was Kawhi was a number 1. Not only was he spectacular.
He was the number 1.
Yeah. Not only was he super spectacular, he was also a guy where having a guy like Siakam next to him makes sense. They don't operate in all the same areas and stuff of that nature, which is a problem that you run into a little bit with these other number 1s, I think, sometimes. So, yeah, I'm not positive what I would want him or what I would do for him or where I would want him to go, I should say.
I know. It's really weird.
Yeah. But I think that he's good.
Yeah, I think he's definitely good. Yeah. It's just the fact that he you have to extend him definitely makes things interesting.
It is funny when people call him a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
That's all he does is spin move.
He does do lots. He just spams that B button.
He does spam that B button.
Yeah.
Spams the double X.
Okay, so that wraps up blow it up tier for me. I'm in the lottery tier now. And are you all of your teams outside of the lottery been talked about?
I believe so.
Yes. Too.
Yes.
So I have 5 teams. We have 5 teams that haven't yet to be named. The Hornets
I didn't name this tier lottery. I just named it Suck.
Okay, that's good. You already talked about the Hornets, so that was my 6th team in this tier. We need to talk about the team that is probably a lot of people have been waiting to hear us talk about for most of this podcast. We officially have passed the 2.5 hour mark. So,
wow,
isn't that crazy, dude? We're just at an hour and a half. Yeah, I know, dude.
Wild.
I'm freaking hungry, dude.
I might need a nap. I'm also hungry.
Yeah, this is not good.
I did make breakfast before I came here.
I did not. I had a donut.
Okay.
That's all I've had to eat today.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, it's rough. So let's try to speed through these. But this first team, it's gonna be.
We're going to.
It's gonna be hard to speed through.
2 of these
first
teams
team.
will be tough to speed through, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The other 3 is the other one the Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other 3 will be pretty quick. We'll talk about them, but let's talk about the Pistons, man.
Okay.
They are the first team we need to talk about. The Pistons are the worst record in the NBA, 2-9. Not only are we 2-9, but we've lost 8 straight games, the longest losing streak in the NBA by quite a lot. And it's been rough, man. We've had games against the Phoenix Suns and kind of the Chicago Bulls last night where we just get kind of blown out. The Bulls game, we were in it for a little bit, but then second half, we were just getting blown out. Then we have games like the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers where, wow, we're beating a really good team for most of this game. We look pretty good. Are we actually good? Then we just blow it because we can't really close games and our offense just gets very, very stagnant at the end of games. And the common denominator is that we just lose. We're losing games and it can't win. What's going on with the Pistons, Matt? We can talk about bright spots too. It doesn't have to be all negativity here.
We'll talk about bright spots, but what's going on with the Pistons? Well,
is it just that we have 4 guys hurt that are going to
That's probably the first thing that's going on with the Pistons.
And I like to remind people of that.
Half the rotation
frequently
is in street clothes,
yes.
And Jaden Ivey clearly not all the way back yet from what I could understand yesterday. And Jalen Duren, ankle problems. He's going to be out for a little bit, it looks like. Bojan obviously out for a little bit. Those are 2 probable starters.
Burks just returned.
Yeah, Burks just returned yesterday, so he's missed some time. Monte still Livers. Yeah, all these guys are going to play or would be playing, I think.
And would help.
Even
Joe Harris.
Yeah, he might help. He might not help.
Yeah, true. We got Kevin Knox.
Yeah, we have Kevin Knox. Shout out.
Dude, the Kevin Knox games last year were my favorite games.
Were they?
Because those are the memorable ones. The games where, Cade has a big game. Obviously you remember those. But when guys like Kevin Knox or, Eugene Omarui come in the game and just drop 15, those are the games you remember.
True. Yeah, he did it last night. Shout out to Kevin Knox.
But anyways.
Yeah, this is a very young team. And
incredibly young.
Young teams don't win very much, to be completely honest. This is why, like, I was never the most, like, Pistons are going to make the play. Like, I never thought they were going to make the play or anything. It's a very young basketball team, especially right now with Mate and Boyan and guys out. Also, there's probably not – there's very few guys that are good at both offense and defense on the team, so that makes lineup construction pretty difficult because you're always giving something up. Right now, we're bottom 10 in both offense and defense, unfortunately, and the defense one in particular doesn't surprise me a ton because there's not like now that Bagley's playing more and Wiseman's playing. Oh my God, there's not a ton to hang your hat on. There's not a ton at on the back line to really help you out. Asar's been unbelievable on that end, and Isaiah Stewart's had a really great season.
Yeah, I think Beef Stew has been like probably the biggest bright spot. Of the year.
Yeah, I would agree. But you know, you got to have Asar out there to get him the reps and everything, but he can't score the ball, and so that hurts quite a bit. There's no reason to really guard him right now on the 3-point line.
Not only can he not score, but like he just airballs a lot, dude.
Yeah, they're bad misses. He has a lot of bad misses.
Like, yeah, and he has a lot of bricks off the glass too. It's like, oh man,
he definitely leads the league in airballs.
It sucks too because I root for him so much, obviously, because he's
awesome.
Like, and you kind of need him out there.
You need him out there. But
like, just don't pass it to him. I really don't know. Like,
I don't know. I think you just got to
clearly want him to shoot.
Got to play through it.
Yeah,
yes, they want him to
and
shoot.
And he is like, I give him like credit for that because
it's not lost confidence.
It's hard as a rookie to continue to shoot threes when pro NBA players are just letting you do it and you're missing poorly.
You're shooting 15%.
And like a lot of them are really bad misses.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not I'll always appreciate the other stuff, you know, like
definitely yes.
He's an unbelievable rebounder and an unbelievable defensive player.
Second in the NBA in rebounds, Asar Thompson in total rebounds.
Insane. He's a 6'6" rookie, bro. You know, like this guy's
he had 10 rebounds at the start of the second quarter last night.
Yeah, he's not normal. Really, he really is not normal. And there's so much cool stuff that he does every single night, and I love him as a player, and I love all the things that he brings and how unique he is. However, he does make offense a lot harder right now. In the very present, he makes things tougher on everybody. Cade turns the ball over a lot, and he's not a very efficient scorer right now. It feels like we've had a tough stretch of games from an efficiency standpoint at this point. We are
under 30% from three.
We are aching for a Cade masterclass anytime soon because things are getting tougher and tougher to defend. He is.
I already saw a video on Twitter of someone just saying Cade is a fraud, and it was like breaking down his last couple of games, and I was just like,
it's happening.
I watched like the first 10 seconds. I was like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, no. Like, was it the guy that hates on Killian? I think I saw
it. Might have been.
The stat stuffer or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yes.
Fuck that guy. Actually, fuck that guy. Actually, fuck that guy.
It's just a hater.
I legitimately dislike him. All right. Moving on. But yeah, Cade, I believe Andy Bailey tweeted out today. I saw a couple people retweet and quote tweet it that of the 98 players who have taken as many shots as Cade has through his first, however many games, he's last in effective field goal percentage of 98. That is not good.
He also leads the entire NBA in total minutes.
Yes, we have played more games than.
True. We have 11. Yeah, that's
But he also leads in total turnovers.
And Asar's got the rebounds.
Yeah, Asar's got the rebounds. But yeah, so he's not putting the ball in the basket at a high level. He's not in a good situation to do so whatsoever. I will say if he continues to just not be able to shoot, then by like game 30, you gotta really you can't just be like
change the.
There's no spacing. It's like well, he just has to score sometimes.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I do think that I'm not like just saying Cade is just this inefficient scorer guy.
Correct.
Because if you watch the Pistons games, which obviously we do, the regular NBA fan who is just like hating on the Pistons probably doesn't because it hasn't been necessarily pretty. The offense is it's hard for Cade to do what he wants to do, because he loves that little pull-up mid-range spot. And we saw it early in the Philly game. Joel Embiid is playing in a drop. He had good 3 or 4 mid-ranges right in the beginning of that game. It works pretty well. But when the defense collapses at the level that it does, when
he's getting gapped and when there's a ton of help at the nail and
exactly
there's a ton
when he's coming right off of the screen, and the guy who's on the wing is Asar Thompson, and they're just not even he's just doubling basically right off of that screen. It becomes very difficult for Cade to do what he wants.
Correct. He is operating in a phone booth more than probably anybody else in the league, and I would say he's not doing a great job of it. I think he
right.
is.
I mean, he's turning the ball over at quite a
7.
high percentage.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. Like I don't think that he's done great in those circumstances. However, those circumstances are absolutely ridiculous, and they shouldn't be. No player should be judged upon what they do in those circumstances. I do wish that he was shooting it better though, because that's not why he's shooting 30%, under 30% from three. You know what I mean?
The threes are the threes are different.
And he was shooting it really well early in the season.
He was.
It just kind of fell off. Apparently, he's sick. That was a thing.
Oh, really?
That he got a little bit of the Ivy sickness. And I honestly kind of noticed it yesterday. I felt like he was kind of sluggish. He's got to be
sluggish, yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like he was a little sluggish. Maybe part of that is fatigue as well, because he is kind of doing everything, and we're playing a lot.
And we just haven't had many, like, 2 days in a row.
No, off nights.
Yeah.
No. And he's 36 a game, like you mentioned, or 36 minutes a game, leading the league in minutes. That could happen for a guy that, just didn't play an entire season, so the conditioning is still probably a work in progress. But, there's flashes of the excellence that we believe in him to be. There's times where it looks like he could be, a future All-NBA guy. That happens just enough for me to believe for sure. But again, like, it's still very early. It's only 11 games. If by game 30 it looks like it's looked for the last 5, then yeah, Cade is probably not the guy. That just is what it is.
I got a question.
Okay.
Concerned or not, saw a video this morning actually that said Jaden Ivey has taken out all things Detroit Pistons out of his Instagram bio. But
they were never there.
I went and checked, and that's what I was gonna say. Like I can't
saw
confirm.
Some people saying it.
I can't or cannot confirm that he had anything in his bio prior.
Everybody was saying he never had. The people that
okay, that's good.
We're saying that he never had anything there.
Okay,
so,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
I hope he plays.
I'm not concerned with like his mental right now. Like he was just sick.
Yeah,
like he wasn't.
No, yeah, I'm not concerned about last night either. Like him only getting 11 or 12 minutes. I think
a little still working.
But I hope when he's fully recovered, like. We can't be playing him less than 20 minutes.
Correct. I also think like it's kind of dumb to just play him like 11. Like if you're only gonna play him 11 minutes, 7.
Why'd he play? Yeah.
Right. But
hurts his stats.
It hurts his stats. I think that it hurts really. Like it didn't seem like he wasn't getting valuable.
Right.
Out there or anything. Just let him sit again. But
we've had like Marcus Sasser has been a phenomenal rookie.
Yes.
Scores the ball at a very high clip. I think his playmaking last night was honestly pretty good too. Because he played a lot of guard. Killian Hayes, I really do think is having a good year. Obviously, if you guys listen to the last episode, Matt is the Killian Hayes guy. I've also always been a Killian Hayes guy. He's top 10 in the NBA in assist to turnover ratio. And that's not even with getting a lot of assists either. It's just because he does not turn the ball over. Less than 1 a game.
Yeah, which is awesome because everybody else does. So having a guy that does
and
feel
people
like
wonder why he continues to play.
Yeah, and I mean he should take out the first game. He's shooting the lights out of the ball, kind of like he's shooting the best that he ever has for sure. I think he's got a career high in most everything, really, like from an efficiency standpoint at least.
Points per game too.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's tough because. Yeah, points per game, 11 points per game. That's nice to see. More points than field goal attempts. That's a good benchmark. They're using him not like I think that he's going to be used when the team is good. I'll say like he has the ball a lot.
Yes,
probably more than he should,
and like
definitely more than he should.
Like some of we talked about this the other day, but like some of the pull up mid ranges, like just have to be eliminated.
Yeah, like I just think that he doesn't have to be running a ton of pick and roll. Probably, definitely not as much as he is. Now I get it. Like it can't just be Cade every single time. Like somebody has to relieve him a little bit. And right now,
but Monte,
we don't
Burks,
quite have the guys.
Like
yes, and so he is, and I think that he's doing a fine job. And he's playing well enough to solidify himself as at least part of the rotation, even if he's not a starter.
Yeah,
which you could definitely argue he shouldn't be.
And I don't know the numbers, but I just from a feel standpoint, I feel like he's been pretty good off catch and shoot threes.
Yeah, I think like the last couple weeks after the first game, he shot well from three straight up. Like he's just been a pretty good 3-point shooter, and if he's giving you that, if he's over 50 true shooting, then this is a guy that absolutely should be in the league. Like not just in the league, but like getting some burn.
Yes.
So it's really just a question of can he continue doing that?
I think that the Pistons, like I said, like we can't panic incredibly hard because we just have so many guys out that are going to be key contributors to this rotation. But we also are 2-9 and we've lost 8 straight games. Like it's hard to not just be like, wow, this sucks, because like it just does kind of suck, like it is what it is. But hopefully. And like we talked about this before too, I hope that the guys kind of return in spurts. I hope they all don't return at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I want to see. I'm interested what the rotation.
More variation.
What does the rotation look like? Someone asked Monty Williams about Bojan and was like, "What did Asar Thompson do to win the starting spot?" Basically, and he was just like, "He didn't. Bojan got hurt. Like, that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of confirmed that Bojan will probably start over Asar once he comes back.
Right.
Which I'm interested to see what Asar's minutes still look like, because he definitely deserves to still play a lot of minutes from what he does defensively. And I think Asar Bojan minutes together could be very beneficial. So interested to see what happens. But Beef Stew has for sure
earned it. He's been very
44% from 3 on 4 attempts, man.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Awesome. Pretty awesome. I feel, I'm very pleased with what Beef Stew has done this season. I think defensively he's stood out as well. He's probably been the best defender on the team this season, too. Or outside of Asar. He's been the second best defender on the team this season, to be completely honest with you. He's still turning the ball over more than you'd hope. He's got like 30% more turnovers than assists. That's not very good. But, the shooting is there, and that's just kind of step one to him being a 4, like a reliable 4. And so if he continues that up, then I have no qualms with Stu at the moment. Obviously, the turnovers is sort of the next thing to worry about. But I'm overall happy with what Stu has done this season, without a doubt. The other guy I think that is definitely mentionable is Jalen Duren.
Yeah.
Who was unbelievable at the start of the season. The first 3 or 4 games, he was absolutely unreal.
Incredible.
And then since that, he got the ankle injury and it clearly sort of bothered him. And I just think defensively he has not been the same guy that he was the first couple games of the year. And I hopefully that was just an ankle thing and not, the first 3 games being a fluke.
Yeah, but, because he's also just been in and out the last, so it's clear that his ankle is not 100%. And hopefully, just as much as I hate the James Wiseman minutes, sit him until he's good. We don't need this halfway good Jalen Duren.
Absolutely. And speaking of James Wiseman, we can just play Stu as a 5.
That's what I was gonna say, dude. Why do we? Because they closed out the Philly game like that.
Yeah.
Or not the Philly game.
No, the Philly game. Right.
What did Duren not play in the Philly? He played in the Philly game, right? No, he didn't. You're right.
No,
he didn't. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
They closed the Bulls game like that.
Yes.
For sure.
With Stu at the 5, and so I just why can't
Duren
you just
didn't finish the Philly game.
Why can't you just that's what it was. Why can't you just make that the starting lineup?
I agree.
Who else?
Well, once Bojan comes back, it should just be that. If Duren's still out,
yes.
it should just be Asar and Bojan start together next to Stu at the 5.
I'd love an injury update on everyone. We haven't really got one
just
in a
full.
minute.
We need a full 5 paragraph.
Are they day to day? Are they week to week?
Yeah, I'm not super. I don't know. I'm not super.
Who would you start as that 5th spot right now if they decided to do that?
Burks, right? Maybe Sasser.
Just move Asar down.
But then
probably Burks, probably Burks.
Yeah.
It's a smaller lineup for sure, but I think you're sacrificing that for Bagley.
Ivy?
Yeah, maybe. I would like for it to be Ivy.
The offense is so bad right now, maybe it just got to be Ivy. Somebody that can get to the rim and do something.
True,
score, get a couple buckets. I guess Burks also gets buckets, to be fair.
He gets hella buckets.
But he's been so good off the bench, you almost don't want to move him anywhere.
Right, that's true.
The outlook on this team, I don't think they're going to be very good. It'll be better once everybody's back and hopefully more watchable. They're still top 5 in assist percentage and stuff, but
play-in is just not. It's not in the cards right now, unfortunately.
No, it's not.
Hawks tomorrow night in the play-in tournament at home. The Pistons' other home play-in tournament game. Pretty excited for that.
Absolutely.
I wonder if the Hawks. I had the in-season tournament standings up. Yes, I still do. I wonder if the Hawks won their first game. They have not played a game yet. They have no in-season tournament game yet.
Were they first?
They're them and the Magic are the only other teams that have done that. So that will be fun to see. All right, let's move on. I think that was a good Pistons discussion. And if you want to hear more Pistons talk, we will obviously touch on them on the radio.
Already seen people do the tankathon thing.
I also saw that. Also, one thing I'm not excited for is because I just feel like we haven't been seeing a lot of wow, Isaiah Stewart's been really good this year. I feel
if we were playing well, people would be talking about it.
Pistons fans I think Isaiah Stewart is one of those guys that Pistons fans want to be bad so they can prove their agendas right.
Depends.
Some the hater Pistons fans, kind of like J-Mo, like the J-Mo fans are that way with the Lions.
The other Killian.
People definitely want Killian. Yes, Killian is the biggest one. Yeah. But the moment that Stu has a 1-for-9 3-point game,
people will be talking.
People will be talking about how bad he is.
Maybe I do think if we were 500, the national media would be like, man, how about Beef Stew?
Probably. Yeah, you're right.
I do think that's the case. He's been at that level where I think
so.
he'd get some attention if they were any good.
I would hope so, yeah.
I don't know, maybe one big. We need a Cade game soon. I'll say that much. If we don't get a Cade game soon, things are going to get nasty.
Absolutely need a Cade game soon.
Also, yesterday was early in the day, my whole timeline was people doing I don't know if you saw this as well, probably, but it was a Tyrese Maxey versus Cade Cunningham poll. like for the future.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
And that was like a lot of my timeline was people arguing that. And then Tyrese Maxey had 50 and Cade
had
shat the bed.
Yeah. What did you vote for before?
Cade.
Would you change your vote based off one game?
Probably
I'm
not.
still voting for Cade.
Give me 15 more games.
Look, I know Maxey's been great. Give me Cade though.
Give me 15 more
biased
games.
ass pick for sure.
I like the size that Cade
brings.
think
I think so too.
But
Maxey will be a better. Maxey will score more points.
I was not familiar. Like, not say I knew Maxey was playing awesome. I don't know if I realized he was this good for. Like, we had a whole radio segment on the other day before any of this happened, in which I spoke. Very high.
A lot about I spoke
about Maxey and how good I thought that he's been and everything that I've seen from him and how impressed and everything. And I still think I might have been underselling him. Like he might
when he drops 50 in between,
he might be like all NBA.
Yes,
I don't know why that
he's
didn't
definitely
register.
is an all NBA guy right now.
If it was right now, and I'm saying that might be just who he is. Unbelievable, man.
Scary.
Very good. Very, very.
And
good
shout out to Joseph and Tim for saying Cade would be all NBA this year. Because it's not going to happen.
That was a bad thing to say.
I was really surprised. I was happy that they did it, though, because I was like, I get to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
No, I'm with you. I was like, oh, shit. You think what?
I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like,
yeah. He might not be all NBA.
I don't think he would make 5 if there was 5 all NBA teams. I don't know if he'd make it. Yeah. Okay, so I have 4 more teams here. We talked about the Spurs. Let's do them next. They are a lottery team. They got Wembanyama, though, so they're still must-watch TV. They're probably the biggest must-watch TV team out of these lottery team groups.
Absolutely.
Because I assume we're just going to go a lot in depth of Wembanyama. I think Devin Vassell and Zach Collins, I think for me personally, have been the 2 other bright spots of this team. I think Collins has fit really well next to Wembanyama. I like the scheme that Popovich kind of has with them because Collins like low key kind of plays like a little hub. Like he works at the top of the key a lot.
For sure.
Obviously he's not, your typical.
They run a lot of high-low.
Exactly, and I think he does it. Like Collins I think he's a good NBA player for sure.
Agree.
And Vassell has been a fun scorer so far this year. I think the Jeremy Sohan point guard situation.
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, and it might be one that has to come to an end.
Because
he had to play the other day. I can't remember what game it was in. I was watching it where he literally came down the court and traveled 2 times in a row. Like he literally just was dribbling the ball, passed it, caught it, and then traveled 2 straight times. And then they panned to Popovich, and he was just like he was. And I was like, how do you not take him out right now? Like, you can't travel 2 possessions in a row.
That's true. You can't travel 2 possessions
as the point guard.
That's fair. When I used to play basketball, traveling is the worst feeling ever. You feel like such an idiot. I remember,
dude, you really do.
I remember in 8th grade, we were on a comeback. 8th grade, our team was all right. Quick story time.
Yes,
it's about to be a long podcast.
it already is, dude.
8th grade, we're
not getting it 3 hours.
We had one. Unfortunately,
we're at 3 hours.
Wow. All right. Well, we were it was a horrific 8th grade team. I was probably the best player on the team, and I'm not that good to where if I'm the best player on the team, we're gonna be good.
Right,
Right.
It
was me and one other kid named Justin. Shout out to Justin. But so we were finally I was kind of going crazy. I was hot, right? I probably had 18, 20 or something.
Okay.
And it was we were halfway through the
career
fourth quarter.
High type game.
No.
Okay.
Come on now. Don't tell me
average
short.
game. Average game.
No, but
that'd have been my career high.
It was late fourth quarter. We were surging back. I was leading the comeback, so I was locked in, right? And there was probably 2 minutes left. We're down by 2. So in 8th grade, down by 2 minutes left. This is as high pressure situation as anybody has ever been
in your
situation.
life. Yes.
Yeah, and we're looking for the first win on the season, and I'm down there and I'm battling with this big dude. I was our 5, but also our point guard type deal. So I was down there throwing yada yada with this guy. Boom, they throw him an entry pass. I slip him. I steal it, and right when I steal it, I travel. As I catch the ball, I travel to throw the outlet pass, and they call it
an obvious travel.
I don't think so. I think I dragged my foot.
Because the ones where they call it travel, but it's not. You didn't think it was a travel. Those don't embarrass me because it's I didn't travel.
Right. And I dragged my foot, and they call it travel, and I was stuck. I couldn't get it out of my head for a week.
That's the worst.
Because that was about to be the game-winning play.
I do think double dribbling is more embarrassing though. Because that's just a blatant.
I don't think I ever.
I don't think I ever. That's just a blatant
Yeah, what are you doing?
You're just not playing the rules.
I can't even
of
think of the last time I saw.
You can accidentally travel, just with your footwork and stuff.
Correct.
You really can't accidentally double dribble.
That's the thing. Yeah, that would be more embarrassing. I just can't think of it ever happening.
Yeah, exactly. Because it just.
How do you do that?
How do you double dribble? Yeah, exactly. But anyways, Jeremy Sohan, shout out to him for traveling.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Spurs. What about Wemby has really impressed you this year?
I mean, what hasn't?
Well, I guess that's a stupid question.
Yeah. I think, like, what impressed me about Wemby, one, is the fact that, like, he has had some rough shooting performances, but he doesn't, like, stop shooting, and I think that I appreciate that he doesn't lose his confidence despite being one and, like, under the brightest spotlight. So, like, every time he messes up, people notice it.
For sure.
And obviously every time he does something great, people notice it. But, you know, I like that, you know, when the fourth quarter comes around, he's still very aggressive despite whatever his field goal percent. Like, last night, it just happened. Last night, he was like, I don't know. He was shooting very bad. He was like probably 3 of 13, 3 of 14 or something heading into the fourth quarter. Then he rattled off like 9 quick ones, and I was like, oh. Like, okay, yeah, great. He's still completely aggressive. And nothing really changed about his process, which was nice. I also like that he's still cutting hard and he's still getting these steals and things, despite not getting the ball all the time because they don't have a point guard.
I know.
So I appreciate that he's continuing
I hate when they
go
like 3-4 possessions in a row and Wemby just literally is not involved at all.
Yeah,
it's like
and
frustrating.
it feels like he could have,
Yes,
he's in a good
it's not,
position.
Like, it's different if some guys just
he's not standing in the corner and like they're guarding him.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like he's getting good position.
Because sometimes he'll catch the ball and just shoot it immediately. And when he does that, because it happens quite frequently, that just makes me think like he wants the ball. Like, he's just not getting the ball enough, and he just is kind of trying to force shots. Luckily, he's 7'4" and can shoot over the top of anyone, so it just looks like a regular jump shot.
Right.
But yeah, I think, and obviously defensively, like, we know what he brings to the table defensively.
He's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
He completely changes the game.
All defense as a rookie?
I think so. I think all defense.
Because the positions don't matter for that. So.
Right. I think that he's one of the 10 most impactful defenders in the league this season, personally. So
what if him and Chet both made it, dude? That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
Anassar.
The bad news is that the Spurs defense as a whole sucks.
It's a good point.
Like, he probably.
It's a really good point.
You know, I don't know. Maybe they won't give him that look. But I do think, like, especially last night, like, he just sort of changes the way the other team plays offense as much as anybody in the league, like, positionally. He has so much room for error that he can be late on every rotation.
That's a great
and everything
point.
And be in the wrong spot, and it still doesn't really matter a ton.
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson got him, though. Did you see that?
I did see that. That was nice.
That was sick. But, yeah, I think he's been awesome.
That was probably a bad shot from Duncan Robinson, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true.
No,
can't do that. Can't do that, Duncan. You fucking idiot. That's what Dominique wanted to say.
You white boy.
Yeah. Get this cracker off the floor. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. I think that he's what was advertised.
Yeah.
No disappointment at all for me. I think that he's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. I think if you would have told me, like, coming into this year, because he's averaging 29 and 2.5 blocks.
That's about what I would have guessed.
Literally, like, and I think that's a good thing, because a lot of people, like, it just seemed like he had so much hype that I was nervous that it wasn't going to, it was going to take some time, you know? And it really didn't. It took, like, that first game was, like, he literally said, like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing out there. And then after that, he's just been, like, really good. So,
yeah.
I think he's done a great job.
Agree wholeheartedly. It's still very much so, like, if the Spurs are playing, I want to watch.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That, like, even though they're in this lottery tier, they're still must-watch TV.
They should just attach him and Trey Jones. Every time Wemby's on the floor, Trey Jones is on the floor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I get it, like, that you wanted the point Sohan thing, but, like, you started Trey Jones all year last year.
Right.
And now you're just like, now that we have this, like, big that he could really benefit with, like, pass first point guard, we're going to hit.
That's what Trey Jones does.
We're going to let Ice Trey hit the bench.
Doesn't do anything much else, really.
Yeah.
Like, he's just kind of a pass first table setter type of guy. Yeah. Defends pretty well, and that's it.
He doesn't score.
Doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Yeah. They do need a point. Trey Jones isn't very good.
No, but, like, I think
need a point guard.
You're better off.
They got to draft a guy.
Yeah.
But, like,
they got to draft a guy.
They need to. I think it's important who they draft that he connects with Wemby in some way.
I think they really could benefit from, like, making a trade. Like, you're not giving up assets or anything, but even if you're getting a veteran point guard,
like, just to
help.
They could use McConnell big time. They could use Killian.
There's
Monte Morris.
Yeah, like that. I feel like that would be fine for sure.
They need somebody who wants to get him the ball.
Yes. And no one really right now does.
That's what it feels like sometimes, yeah.
Sadly. Okay, we have 3 teams left. We can rattle off these 3 teams because, like, do they really matter that much?
Wow.
I think one of them really doesn't anymore.
The Wizards?
No.
Oh. Who?
Portland.
What do you mean that they don't matter?
Like, Scoot's hurt. I guess Scoot is, like, kind of back. Robert Williams III got hurt. Ayton's not good. And I was intrigued to see how Ayton would do on this team. So I just feel like Portland, like, they just, like, Simons, I kind of thought would, like, right? Yeah, I thought Simons would kind of, like, tear.
Off a little bit.
Hasn't really that much.
Shaden's been nice.
Shaden, oh yeah, I did write down. That was like the main thing I wrote down with Portland. Shaden has been really good. But yeah,
Jeremy Grant's been pretty good too.
Grant's been pretty good. Maybe they trade him.
He's been nice.
But yeah, Portland they're here.
Skylar Mays, that's the other guy.
I saw they converted his two-way to
He's been balling.
A regular
He's just
contract.
like an NBA point guard to me. Like
the Spurs need
him. He just makes good decisions.
Yeah, he is pretty good. He's kind of hopped around the league for some years now. The Wizards, we just mentioned them. They're here. You know what I've been disappointed in this year?
Who's that?
Why is Jordan Poole not averaging 30 like everyone said he was going to coming into this year? 16 points per game for Jordan Poole this year.
I suspect it might be harder to average 30.
3 assists as well.
Realize.
What is his how many shots has he taken?
He has not been very. I've watched a couple of these games, unfortunately.
I see he's shooting 41 and 30% from 3. But what is his does he shoot a lot?
He's a 51 true shooting.
15 field goal attempts per game. I feel like I expected more.
Yeah, Kuz is like
Kuz been playing pretty good.
Kuz is getting him up. Yeah,
I have Kuzma in fantasy, dude. He low key been like helping
at 28 a game.
hardcore. He's been doing really good.
28 a game. That's not nothing. I would say 28 and 8. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this team. I've watched him. I've caught him a couple times, probably more than I should. I think Koulibaly's sick.
I was just gonna say
I think Koulibaly's
like
super
really
sick.
Good.
His on-off split, they win the minutes when Koulibaly plays.
Really?
Obviously, they get torched when he's off the floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, they legit win those.
They also have a
minutes.
bunch of role guys that they should move. Like if they're tanking, I guess. If they want it, they could DeLon Wright.
Agree. Hold up. Yes, agree. Sorry, I just realized something. They had. This is hilarious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players averaging over 17 points a game.
On the Wizards?
Yeah.
Are you looking at per 36?
No. Yeah. I was like, well, no, because so many of them
shot, right?
Yeah, because so many of them
get hurt, don't play together. Yeah, I get that.
So I thought because a couple of them were like Omarui, I was like, oh, he's only played like 2 games.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
But Gallinari.
Even per 36, that's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. There's probably not any other teams like that. But Gallinari has been pretty good this year for the Wizards. Send him to another team. DeLon Wright, send him to another team. Maybe even Landry Shamet. We'll see. And maybe Tyus Jones too. Get Tyus Jones on the Spurs, bro.
Yeah, with his brother. I agree. He would be good on the Spurs. They could move some of these guys. Why not?
Yeah.
You know that you're in hour 3.5 of a podcast if you look at the per 36 minutes instead of the normal
Yes.
ones.
So Kuzma's not averaging 28.
No, he's not.
Shout out Kuzma. Okay, the last team, like I said, we're just over 3 hours. The Utah Jazz. I don't know. I think this was some expected
worst
regression from the
backcourt
Utah
ever?
Jazz. Ever.
Maybe.
With who are you considering it as? Or are you just saying the Jazz,
Just
whoever
generally,
they send out?
Whoever they send. They haven't. It's not like they've had a
Sexton
super
and
consistent.
Clarkson.
Yeah.
THT's
the worst one, I think. I think THT is pretty bad. That is not a
Chris
guy that
Dunn and
I like Chris Dunn the most because at least he defends probably.
yeah, I love Chris Dunn.
Yeah, Clarkson, all of them are bench players, basically. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. They don't have a single starting caliber. I don't know if they have a guy that would start.
Their defense been really bad.
Defense is really bad because
Lowry's good.
The defense is really bad though because their guards just turn it over so much.
Right, that's true. It's not like a Walker Kessler has regressed defensively.
Right, they're just always in transition,
Yeah.
and they're a bad transition team because they're so big.
Yeah, and they're slow.
Yeah, right. Like Kessler and Mark.
Keontae George hasn't gotten the run that I necessarily would like.
The last few games,
get.
yes.
I guess I haven't watched them. I watched
the last
them
few
early
games
on.
he's been starting.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Last 2 games probably. Yeah.
Is THT still starting?
I
guess I can just see how many games he started. Yeah.
Yes.
Because
unfortunately he is.
Because he's a hard watch, man.
He is a hard watch. He just dribbles and dribbles and dribbles and dribbles and misses and dribbles and dribbles and misses.
Yeah, he started 8 out of 10 games, so
yeah,
that is rough. Abaji, there's another guy
Bryce
we
Sensabaugh
forgot.
almost had a triple-double in the G League the other day.
Really?
He had 27, 8, and 8.
They got to get him some run, man.
I agree. I was saying that
Hendricks.
Can he play? Your team's not good, dude. You had 3 people drafted in the first round.
Play
them all.
Yeah,
play them all.
You're a lottery
This
team.
is supposed to be part of your core going forward.
Uh-huh.
Those guys should be playing together, learning how to
Another
play with
team
each
that
other.
should just make some trades. Like Olynyk can get traded,
Olynyk should get traded. Clarkson can get traded.
Sexton
could
maybe
get traded.
John
John Collins, they just signed him, so I guess
Collins probably won't get traded, but just because of the contract. But Sexton's contract isn't even that bad. I think he's making $20 million.
Yeah,
it's high, but
I just give the young guys a path.
I'm right there with you. All right. That completes our final tier.
Oh, I had a Wemby question.
Okay, go for it.
Is there a world in which Wemby is so dominant defensively in like 6 or 7 years that you cannot get away with with having any non-shooters if you played him in a playoff series because he's that impactful?
Like you have to have five out.
people that people have to worry about. Yeah.
And we talking like 5.
We're talking peak Wemby.
Like Asar Thompson.
Peak
not,
Wemby.
But I'm talking like the shooters. Like they aren't like guys who in theory shoot. Like they got to be shooters.
They got to be guarded.
Yes. Yeah. Like they're like.
Is there a path? Is there?
It's not like the Terrence Mann thing with the Wolves.
Is there a world where in 2028 we cannot play Jalen Duren on the court?
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Because Wemby is on there.
Right. No. I'm gonna go with no.
Okay.
I think that there's to a certain extent, yes, but I think guys like Duren will impact it enough where it's like we can figure something out, you know?
Okay.
Like and he means so much defensively, like guys like that where it's just like it's kind of hard to replace that.
Right, but I guess like how much will he mean defensively if he has to guard a guy 7 inches taller?
That's true, and probably Beef Stew just guards him anyways, right?
Maybe.
Who would guard him if we played the Spurs right now? I feel like
Stu.
Yeah, that was gonna say. I feel like Stu would.
Yeah, Duren would guard Collins.
Yeah, duh. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean that's a good question though. It's a really good question. Like the Celtics, you know, they kind of fit that. Like how many starting 5 caliber teams actually pose that threat? There's not a lot
that like actually run 5 out and you have to guard.
And
everybody.
like all 5 guys can shoot.
Well, the thing in the
like legitimately shoot.
Yeah, the Celtics.
That's it, right?
The Thunder could do it. Like if they really got into that lineup, because you wouldn't not guard Shea despite him not being a 2-point shooter, but that's different.
It might not be his game,
right? But you guard him out there because he's Shea.
The Sixers kinda, but Embiid just
they
like
wouldn't
doesn't.
guard him. They wouldn't guard Embiid out there though.
You're right.
Maybe they would. But
no,
they might
I
just
think you're right though.
like,
they might just like
Embiid,
live with it, shoot. Yeah, but then he would just pump fake and then drive and get fouled.
Right. Yes. Like you don't want to give him a runway.
Yes.
Also. So yeah, maybe to some degree, but I think that if like it wouldn't be like if Embiid was just hanging out in the corner.
Yeah, I'm just like looking through all the teams, dude, and there's just like there's none.
Well, like only a couple bigs really get guarded. I guess Denver could.
The Pacers.
Denver could do it.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't play Gordon.
But like I think they let Gordon shoot.
They would let Gordon shoot. You just wouldn't play him. You'd play somebody else.
That's crazy though. How do you not play him?
I know. I agree. And he might even be the Wemby guarder. Yeah. So maybe that's different.
It all just depends too on like how good do the Spurs get, because like if Wembanyama is just really good but the rest of the team isn't, like it's not that big of a deal, you know, like we can just still beat you.
I feel that. I guess that this is the world where Wemby like really hits his
ceiling. Like Wemby's best player in the league by like year 5.
Yeah, that would be this situation.
Yes,
that I'm talking
which
about,
could happen.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just something I thought about when I was watching him. I was just watching him like he was guarding Derrick Jones Jr. and like roaming around. I was like, what are you gonna do when he like really figures this out? You know?
It's literally 10 games into his career.
Yeah.
And it's already so impactful.
Yeah, no, right.
Sure.
Which is unfair for sure. Maybe this is a stupid idea.
No, I think it is fair, honestly. I think it's a fair question.
It was just something that popped into my head. Curious.
All right, guys. That's going to do it. 3 hours and about 10 minutes. This is the longest podcast ever. The second longest one was the first one with Matt. Like I said, go follow Matt on Twitter at Griff1on1.
Thank you.
We're going to get Ben Bosher on here eventually. And if you want to hear more of us, if 3 hours wasn't long enough for you, you can hear us for 4 more hours a week on 101.1.
We gotta start splitting these up like Eastern Conference, Western Conference, or something.
That's a good point. We really do, for sure.
Or just any other
next
topic.
time we're gonna do a 3 things topic kind of. We got
5 teams.
3 things to the table. And we'll do it that way.
I didn't even. You just sprung this on me kind of too. Like I didn't have the research ready to go or anything. Yeah. This could have been.
I
5
texted
hours.
you last night at like 11 o'clock and was like, "Hey, let's."
And
do
I was
it.
like in bed. I was like, yeah.
Exactly. I didn't do my research really till today.
That's what I'm saying. Same.
And it still went this long. So, thank you guys for listening. And peace.
See you.